put the children to bed. It's time for Dan and Aldo to bare their souls.
I love the Chicago Bears more than I do masturbating, and that is a lot.
Then, with 3 seconds left, Bob Avellini throws a 30-something-yard touchdown pass to Greg Latta, and the Bears win, and I literally shit my pants. I swear to God, I literally did.
Eric Kramer, for me, I love the guy. He's a tragic figure. I mean, he embodies all that is.
If they don't run the ball here, I'm going to vomit. I swear to God.
Look, I don't mean any disrespect. He just didn't play that well. Not for a guy of his caliber.
You know, they won, but I'm going to be miserable all week because they stunk.
I don't really have any recollection of that at all, but I guess perhaps I blacked it all out.
So, Dan, tape is the ultimate tool for scouts and for coaches to evaluate players, to detect plays and so forth. And they spend hours looking at tape, right? Why do they so often get shit wrong?
I love the efficiency of bourbon.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan and Aldo.
Yeah, baby! Oh my goodness, Dan, how are ya?
It's good to see you back. Last week being your wedding anniversary, and we had this cathartic gonna bitch about this terrible Bears loss from Sunday from all angles, and I guess we still are, but it seems somehow less important because of the events of Monday Night Football at the Buffalo safety yesterday. It makes it all, to use a cliche, it puts everything, pardon me, everything into perspective with your life and everything, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yesterday I popped into Bears Country podcast to talk a little Justin Fields and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden it turned into a news show with the unfortunate events that happened in Cincinnati. Talk about a weird, once-in-a-lifetime kind of accident. Based on what I know, this is a hit at a very specific spot in the chest area, right at the point where the heartbeat is moving. It's like a nanosecond. You got to hit right at a specific spot, right at a specific time to disrupt the electrical charge of the heartbeat. It is like winning a lotto ticket. Unfortunately, it's the other way around, because generally when that happens, it's a deadly situation. And this poor guy, unfortunately, gets hit in the chest by the offensive player and suffers a heart attack right there on the football field. It is un-effing believable. And un-effing believable that doesn't happen more often in the game of football with all of the hits to the chest that happen. I mean, it is bizarre, man, and so unfortunate. Where were you when that happened, and how did you learn about it?
I was sitting here at work at the radio station, and I forget exactly what I think I was dubbing in that country show or something monotonous, you know, and then my friend sent me the play. He just literally sent it to me on Facebook Messenger, and I was like, oh my God, you know. He's like, I think this guy just died. And again, as you know, that happened in 1971 with Chuck Hughes and the Lions wide receiver right in front of Butkus. So it's happened. His was a heart as well, and he didn't even get hit on the play. He wasn't the receiver on the play. The other guy drops the pass, and then going back to the huddle, and boom, he just fucking falls, dude. And the guy was like 28. So in basketball, it's happened. Remember Hank Gathers from, what was it, 1990? From Paul Westhead was coaching that college team at the time. Loyola, how do you say that? Out of Maryland?
Loyola.
There you go. And Reggie Lewis from the Boston Celtics died on the court in 93. And then I was reminded, because it was in Cincinnati, on opening day in 1996, the Reds and Expos were playing, and I think his name was John McSherry, the home plate umpire, just fucking dropped dead on the field.
Oh, yeah.
And the Reds had just made the playoffs in 95. They didn't make it again until 2010. For years, I joked and said that fucking umpire death put a curse on this team, which isn't funny, but yeah, it's funny, I guess.
I get it.
Let me say one thing that's going to be a disappointment, or most people are going to disagree with me on this, but I don't think that the vitriol towards Skip Bayless is earned right now.
Really? Why?
As I was reading it, I don't recall the exact tweet, but at the end of it, he was saying, like, basically from the way I read it was like, this is an important game. Like, for example, he didn't say this, but if Buffalo takes a loss, then Kansas City becomes the number one team in the AFC. So he was just like, this is an important game. They got to figure it out, but it doesn't matter in the context of the kid that's hurt. So I think if you read to the end of the tweet, I could see where Skip was coming from. But people basically want him canceled now.
Yeah, I thought he was very insensitive. I mean, to mention the rescheduling of the game, or that the game must go on because how is it going to be scheduled? That was insensitive to include in a tweet where you're expressing, that the guy get better. So I can see that. And then he, on his show today, Shannon Sharp did not show up. He said, "Fuck you, Skip. You think or drawn on this on your own." And on his show, he again kind of refuses to apologize. He gives it this kind of bullshit excuse. He sent out another tweet, and if you misunderstood, dude, why don't you just say, "I'm sorry. It was insensitive for me to bring that up," and then let it go. And then when he's on his TV show, say the same thing. I was, too crass, and I apologize and move on, but he's trying to make excuses for himself, and that's just a bad look. And this guy has repeatedly always said stupid things because he wants to be different and wants the attention. I have no sympathy at all for Skip Bayless.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of him, and I'm certainly not going to be his defender. I just thought when I read it, maybe the timing is poor, and I concur with that. But it was a fair question on what they're going to do, because even you and I, 3-4 hours later, granted it was 3 or 4 hours later, we're talking like, is this going to be a tie? Is it going to be just like, fuck, this game never existed? So, I mean, it's a fair question. Again, the timing and the context of it is poor. I just don't think he should lose his job over it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because people are calling for it. Like you said, Shannon Sharp didn't even show up today. So there's going to be like this hate pitchforks and knives kind of cliche, people coming after him. And maybe it's rightfully so, but I don't want to defend him. But I mean, it's not, he's said much worse in his life, I'm sure.
Yeah, he has. Stephen Nagishi says Skip looked really terrible on his own. He admitted Fox bosses told him to offer an apologetic tweet. That's right. He didn't come up with the apology by himself. He was called by his boss. Says, yeah, maybe you should apologize. And Stephen goes on, what does it say about him, an old decrepit loser that he always has been? So, yeah, I just feel like this guy, I don't know. Enough about Skip Bayless. I think we all agree that he's an asshole. What degree of an asshole that tweet was last night is debatable, but I'm happy that he's getting some heat now. I think a lot of people are tuning in here tonight because I put down in the description that we're going to announce some changes to the show. Do you want to do that now, or should we keep people waiting like they do in shows?
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about that surgery I was going to have to try to make my penis longer.
That's right.
That's not the major surgery. Everything's about my cock here, I thought.
That's right. Dan is coming to Chicago next week, not to watch the Bears game, but to undergo surgery at the Gandia Penis Elongation Clinic.
If I was coming to Chicago to try to get my penis enlarged somehow and went to the Bears game, it would work the other way. After seeing Sunday, it somehow would give me erectile dysfunction after the madness that we saw at Ford Field. Jesus Christ, that's like yeah. Let's do the announcement stuff, but we got God Almighty, that game on Sunday. That was one of the worst. I mean, that's got to be in the top. I've been watching the Bears now 37 years. Seriously, since 87 or 36 years. And that's one of the worst games I've ever witnessed.
Yeah.
It's in the top 10. I swear it's in the top 10.
I would agree with you on that. That was definitely one of the top 10 in my lifetime. Retro says that medical science can do wonders, but not that much. Yeah, that was the most disheartening loss of the year, only because you know, and I understand all the parameters and not parameters, but I understand all of the issues with injuries and stuff like that. But that team did not go out there to play hard. And I was disappointed afterwards that everybody sort of seemed to involved with the team saying, yeah, we were playing hard. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You know, there was some really shoddy tackling. I mean, Jaquan Brisker is going to be a star in this league, but he didn't look like a star in Detroit. I mean, it was embarrassing, that first touchdown that was allowed, and he played bullfighter and ole and let the ball carrier run right past him for the touchdown. There was many moments like that. And I got to tell you,
time this year, the fifth time that the Bears defense has allowed 200-plus yards rushing in a game. That had not happened since Eisenhower was president in 1959. Think about that.
Goodness.
Literally, the world, we're trying to assassinate Castro after he's, you know, overtaken Batista. That's where we are in the world the last time the Bears defense allowed 5 200-yard games in a season.
Yeah,
it's just disgusting.
It really is. And so you got to wonder, you know, I understand the strategy that Ryan Poles undertook. Tear it all down. But do you really have to tear it down that badly that you are left with such an embarrassing product? I had the same problem with the Chicago Cubs when they went through the Theo Epstein years, and he tore things down. It was 3 years of absolutely terrible baseball. Season ticket holders for the Cubs said, fuck this, I can't take this anymore. And then all of a sudden they became good and won a World Series ahead of schedule. I'm just concerned that Ryan Poles has dug such a big hole for himself, talent-wise, that, you know, this rebuild could take a long time. A real fucking long time. And, you know, I mean, he's got to hit on every player acquisition that he makes. He's got to hit home runs and extra base hits with every guy that he signs and drafts. That's how depleted this team is of talent. And Dan, I'm going to say something controversial, but I'm getting a little fed up too with Justin Fields and the lack of progress that he is making in the passing game.
I will agree. And I love Fields. You know I love Fields. But that play at the end of the first half, the play at the end, I mean, I know I'm not the only one who's talked about this. I'm not trying to give, like, this is the most original thought anyone said. But there's no pass rush. He's just standing there. Okay, they've got everybody up front. You're not going to get the quick out and a field goal. Throw it deep. Just fucking throw it deep. What else are you going to do? He stands there, lackadaisical, looks disinterested, and just throws a pick to nobody in particular. Yeah. I mean, I was like, what is that play? It was like if there was one play that his detractors could look at and say, see, it's that one.
Zach says Poles is going to go quarterback with the top pick, bank on it. And, you know, Zach, I can't see that happening. I can't see them giving up on this kid that quickly. I don't think that any of these quarterbacks that are coming out are going to be perceptively better if they are chosen by the Chicago Bears. But I don't think that you take this rebuild and really make it even tougher by selecting a quarterback. You got to make it work with Justin Fields. And what we have witnessed in recent history is that if you give Tua Tagovailoa, who in my mind looked like a total fucking bust, but if you give him a Tyreek Hill and a Jalen Waddle, all of a sudden he looks like one of the best quarterbacks in football. Jalen Hurts, who I've loved since he was coming out of college, but his first 2 years, he looked bad. But if you give him A.J. Brown and the other weapons that he's gotten, all of a sudden he's an MVP candidate. And so that's what Ryan Poles has to do for Justin Fields before I'm willing to even entertain the thought of bringing in another quarterback.
The thing with Fields, too, have you noticed, and this isn't scientific, I didn't write down every time, but throughout the season, whenever he's on the bench, to his credit, he's looking at the iPad or the Surface, whatever, Microsoft Surface. Whenever they're rubbing on his legs, it seems like whenever he comes back in after they start rubbing his legs down, his quality of play, is absolutely deficient from that point on. If they're rubbing on his legs, suddenly he can't run, he can't throw. He seems lost. And I love Fields. So again, I don't want anybody to say that I'm flipping or flip-flopping. Yeah. It seems like whenever he gets a lower leg injury and they start running on it or rubbing on him, it's like, well, if he's that hurt, just go ahead and put Peterman in. Right. Because he can't throw or anything seemingly when he's hurt.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. I think that there's been some deterioration in his athletic skills, and that doesn't help your throwing motion and probably is not helping him in between the ears because he's worried about the pass rush and so forth. But listen, I posted this video, and it really pisses me off. You can't make a complaint about Justin Fields now without the legion of Justin Fields lovers. And I love Justin Fields. I'm in that legion. But you can't complain about Justin Fields without all sorts of vitriol coming back at you. So I posted this. Let me play it for you. A lot of people seen it, 78,000.
I saw it yesterday.
This ball. You can't hold the ball this long. Throw it to Chase. You got him there. Get rid of the fucking ball.
So lots of people getting mad at me. But the point is, this is what he has been taught. People are saying, oh, look at the score, 38-10. He's looking for a big play. What the fuck is he going to do with a 5-yard gain? Avoid a sack. Avoid another hit to the body. Avoid being punished. Keep the chains moving. He's being taught to take what the defense gives you. If that's all that's there, and you got Claypool, who hasn't caught a fucking pass the whole day, he's wide open right there. Get him the ball and let him try to create after he's caught it. That's how the game is played. It's not played by trying to throw an 80-yard touchdown pass when you're down 38-10.
And ironically, we don't even throw those passes anyway. There was not one shot to begin with. So it's not like he's taking all these deep shots. There weren't any deep shots. So if you're just going to throw a 6 or 7 yard out anyway, then just take the check down to Chase. In fact, I believe I was happy with Chase's response that came out in the postgame. Of course, I didn't hear what he said, or I didn't see on the field like a blow up. I didn't know about it until after the game. Me neither, but reading what he allegedly said, complaining about wanting the ball and such, and third down being open, it's like at least somebody gave us some fire. Because on the field Sunday, I didn't see that from anybody. No one. At least this one guy's like, dude, let me help. I've been traded here and I haven't been used. And maybe he went about it the wrong way, but at least he cares, man. Even Justin looked lackadaisical and disinterested on Sunday. And I love the guy. I've got 4 of his fucking jerseys. Okay? I love Fields, but like you said, there's some absolute truth to the criticism he gets from his detractors when you're talking about his inability to make easy throws. Whether it's that little out to Chase, a slant, a fucking wheel route, it feels like the little 5 to 10 yard throws he just can't make. Or if he does, it's like he's got to be on the run and make 4 defenders miss, and it's not easy for him ever with the short throw.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that's another irritant. You know, so many times he's had a little 3-yard pass and he overshoots the guy. You know, a little 4-yard pass and he throws it wide to the receiver. What should be the easiest passes to complete, these little dump passes and so forth, I don't know what the pass completion percentage is on those, but I bet you, the intermediate and deeper passes, he's probably got a higher percentage of completion than some of these short passes.
How many times did they run that little bubble screen with Mooney before he got hurt? And even the ones that Mooney caught, it just felt like it was borderline going to be behind the line and could be a fumble, or it's a gain of 2 because Mooney did what he's best to catch it, but there's nowhere to go because it took so long for him to get to it. It's never online is what I'm saying. And I'm not one of these guys that thinks that we should draft a quarterback, we should trade him, he's not going to make it. I'm not saying that. But like what you're saying is valid criticism, and considering that this man has started, 10 games last year, and I think 15 this year, and I guess they're going to shut him down Sunday, which is going to be ironic because I told you, I was like, they're going to play Peterman. You watch, he's going to throw for 300 yards and ruin this whole want the first pick thing against Minnesota. But he should be better at that by now.
He should, man. By the way, you want to find some sexy hot girls? Go to what was it? Oh,
I thought hot girls for you or something.
Tooch is such a good bouncer. He just got rid of them right away. I can't hear you, Tooch.
I was trying to bounce out the porn guy. Whatever. This porn spam. I accidentally threw it up on the screen. Sorry about that.
No problem at all. How are you, Tooch? Come back here. How are you, man?
I'll come back. I'm doing all right, Aldo. I'm going to join you guys in a little bit, just hanging out with the chat mob here.
Just like the show intro says, put the children away, Tooch. Put the children away.
Waiting for the kids to fall asleep. Yeah.
Codeine in that glass of milk, and we'll be sleeping in no time. All right, see you in a little while, brother. That is Johnny Santucci, always there for us. Listen, I want people to know that there should be nobody on your team, even if you have bought 4 of their jerseys, even if they are all pro worthy, that nobody should be above criticism. And so let's calm down. People call me a fucking moron, because I was frustrated that my quarterback didn't complete a 4 or 5 yard. Maybe I overreacted. Maybe I did, but we should still be allowed to criticize our best players. God damn it. I saw every one of Walter Payton's play. Was there a time or two when I yelled at Walter? Come on, fucking Walter, hold on to the ball. Like in the Super Bowl? Yes. Yes, it happens to even our most beloved player.
Walter fumbled in 3 straight playoff games. The NFC title game in 85, Super Bowl 20, and he arguably cost us, I know it's a fucking sin to say this, but the Doug Flutie game, the Bears are driven deep into Redskin territory, and Walter fumbled, and Washington got it, and Butler missed 2 field goals. So we lose by 14, but imagine if Butler makes 2 field goals and Walter scores, you got a 27-20 game or 27-27 game potentially, or right at it. Because we lose by 14.
Yes.
But like no one's going to say that because it's Walter. And that's even stronger the point to criticize Fields, because no one's ever going to be Walter. Like he's the greatest player in the history of the franchise, and obviously tragically died in 1999 at age 45, which is horrid. But even if he were still alive, he would still be considered the best player in the history of the franchise, and maybe 1B Butkus and 1C Sayers.
Mm-hmm.
And if Walter could get a little bit of criticism, we can criticize Justin as well.
Absolutely. So here's what I want everyone in the chat room to do right now. List the one thing about Justin Fields that bugs you. Let's exercise all of these complaints, all of these issues that we have. Let's see what Steven says here. Does Fields needs to improve? Absolutely. Do you think he cares? Absolutely. No one should ever question that. I think he will succeed. The question is Poles committed to him? What do you think there, Mr. Dan Aguirre? Is Ryan Poles?
I hope so, but man, Justin looked like he didn't want to be there Sunday. I know he had the big run early, which again, another moment. He's got all these highlight reels that are just fucking fantastic. And like every time something happens, especially in the Miami game we were together, I just kept telling you, like, oh my God, look, this guy's head and shoulders the best player on the team without question. And I was just like, he's amazing, and he still is amazing. But it felt like you remember Rex Grossman famously said, after the Green Bay game in 06, because they played December 31st of 06 heading into 07, and we go to the Super Bowl that year. We finished 13-3. The third loss was to Green Bay that night. And Rex was bad, and he said, I was kind of thinking about my New Year's Eve plans, which sounded horrible at the time. It kind of still does. but maybe that was some of that shit going on with the Bears Sunday. It was New Year's Day. I don't know, but it felt like Justin and the whole team looked flat as hell, which is what I told you. I was like, it feels like the whole second half of the season, especially the defense, has been flat as hell. And then you listen to Matt Eberflus. I was listening to your postgame with the Gaines report and with Danny Schimmon. And when you all cut to the presser, it just pissed me off because it reminded me of Nagy when they lost to the Saints in 20, and he's smiling and joking around after the playoff loss because it's like he knows he's coming back. Eberflus, you would have thought he was the winning coach Sunday, the way he was just kind of not giving a fuck. And
I got to agree with you on that.
His hit system, which he's had no accountability the second half of the year, not benching anybody, not fussing anybody, not doing anything. He has been a monumental disappointment. And if you told me the day after our game Sunday that they fired him, I would be like, fuck it, he deserves it.
Yeah, I'm not willing to go there, but I do agree with you. It is frustrating now to watch these last couple of press conferences. It's like they've accepted losing. There isn't any of that. You know, I love how Justin Fields has taken a leadership role in these press conferences and how he's holding himself accountable. He said things like, yeah, I held on to the ball too long and we got to do this and we got to do that. But I almost appreciate the Justin Fields from a few weeks ago who stayed by his locker room pouting and didn't want to come out and talk to the press because he was so pissed off about the loss. And as for Eberflus, I agree with you. It is, he does come out and he's like there's just a sense of resignation, I think, is what's going on. It's like, I just, all I need to do is hold on because the help is coming. The cavalry is coming. Poles has promised me he's going to give me a lot more talent. That's what's going on here. And again, I love the idea of rebuilding, but that Ryan Poles deplete the team of so much talent that we have, instead of created a winning culture, a hits culture, we're creating a losing culture.
Yes.
And that is something that I'm worried about.
I'm really worried about it. And there's only going to be one Mike Ditka, and it's not 1985. So it's, you know, but the comparison being when Ditka shows up in 82, or just look in 83, Baltimore was just looked at as one of the worst teams in the league at that point, which led to them going to Indianapolis. They're perennially drafting in the top 2 or 3 at that juncture. And what happens? They lose to the Colts, and Ditka gets so enraged he punches a locker and breaks his hand. I mean, It's just like, that's fire. And I know, I'm not trying to tell Eberflus he needs to be Mike Ditka, because Lovey wasn't Mike Ditka. So there's different personalities, but you always knew that Mike fucking cared. Whether you thought his coaching wasn't as good as it should have been, the guy's giving you his heart. Remember, he had a heart attack and came back the next week and coached. For fuck's sake, man, he's giving you his body, his mind, his soul. What's Matt Eberflus? I mean, I still think Eberflus is better than Matt Nagy. Don't get me wrong. But Matt Eberflus is okay with losing. And it showed in his presser. And maybe it is because he's like, well, what the fuck else can I do this year? But it just seems like he's okay with losing. And your job is to win games.
Seems like it's okay. So I won't never say, at least based on the evidence.
You're right. Yeah. I'm not a psychologist. You know, you're right.
But yeah, you know, when you're a leader, what you say and what, you know, you do will reflect a lot on your leadership skills. And I think that to not show some passion and being upset that you have lost now, 10 straight games, that's not sitting well with me. You know,
the longest in the history of the franchise. And the franchise has been around, as you know, since 1920.
Right. So I've said it before. I want to go to sleep and I want to wake up March 15th, the day of free agency, so that I can start feeling better, you know. Poles has got to go out there and on the very first day sign a Daron Payne and get that pass rush up the middle going, signed another quality couple of free agent offensive linemen. He's got to put that money to use and instill some confidence in his roster and his coaching staff and us fucking fans right now, because we're sick of this. And a lot of good comments in the chat room regarding Fields' mistakes, holding on to the ball, accuracy, decision-making. Swanky says, Justin Fields looks like he did at the beginning of the season. And you know what? There's some truth to that, because you take away the run design plays, and what you're left with as a passing quarterback, he looks very similar as he did in the early part of the season. There hasn't been that monumental leap. Now, I understand no wide receivers. I understand leaky offensive line. I understand all those things. But when you get a Brock Purdy coming in there, and I understand he's got better protection, he's got more weapons, but when you get a young kid like that who was a 7th-round draft pick, and he immediately starts to click, and he didn't have any preseason reps. I mean, it was the 3rd-string quarterback back then. They had Trey Lance and Garoppolo. Brock Purdy comes in the middle of the season and starts throwing up 300-yard games. I used to have a friend who would always bring that up to me, and I was defensive about we'll get it right. But now I hear my friend now saying that. How come all these fucking quarterbacks back then? It was who was the Rams quarterback, the guy that pushed Rome, Jim Everett.
Yeah,
Jim Everett.
Tell me, fuck. What was it? What was he calling him?
He was calling him Chris Everett.
Chris Everett. Yeah, don't call me Chris Everett.
Right. And so Jim Everett comes in on a game, in one of his first games, he throws for 300 yards. And my buddy Mark was saying, yeah, how come that happens all the time? Other quarterbacks come in, first game, they throw for 300 yards. We got quarterbacks here for years, and they don't throw for 300 yards. And that's the frustration, that's the frustration that I'm going through. I want Justin to expedite this development. And I know that Ryan Poles is a major reason why that development is going slower than I would like, but it's got to happen soon, man, or I'm going to fucking have a heart attack. Excuse me, God. Sorry, Mr. Hamler, but I'm going to have a fucking seizure or whatever. It's just frustrating as hell, man. We love this team. We love our players. Justin Fields, I love you, but man, show me something, man. I hope you play Sunday, and I hope you throw for 350 yards, and we win the fucking game. Beat Minnesota. They need to win.
I can't come to a game, or even if I'm watching on television, and want them to lose. That's not how I'm. Because you're going to hear these people saying, well, no. You got to lose Sunday, and maybe if the Texans lose, you get the first pick in the draft. Well, while I'm watching the game for those 3 hours, I just can't sit around. That's why I don't play fantasy football, Aldo. I can't sit around and root for other players that aren't on our team. I'm not going to be like, oh, you know what? God, I hope we win Sunday, but man, if Cousins throws for 400, hell, I'll win $60 or whatever the fuck. Fuck that. I want our team to win. So I want Justin to play. I hope he has a big game throwing the ball. To defend Justin, I will say this, though. This has been a lousy season. I thought the 3-13 with John Fox was horrible. The 2002 team, the streak that they just eclipsed with 8 straight losses, 4-12 overall, was horrible. But man, this season has been so bad. The only thing that's made up anything that's made this season fun has been Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Like, he's the only part of this team that has made me smile, made me hope, made me cheer, brought me out of my chair. It's all been on Justin. So, and you look Sunday, I know I'm changing the conversation a bit here.
It's all right. Part
of the problem with the offensive line, and last week, I know you weren't here, I'm not trying to say I'm right, but I think I'm right on this. Last week, we were collectively pulling out these stats, sucking Braxton Jones's dick. Braxton Jones was getting thrown into Justin on Sunday. Not only was he giving up sacks, they were pushing his body over top of Justin.
Yeah.
I don't think Braxton, he's a rookie. People grow and get better. But at this point, if you told me they have no interest in signing a left tackle or drafting a left tackle because they know he's the guy, I just think that's misguided. I think Braxton Jones is part of the problem right now.
Mm-hmm. I believe that Braxton Jones can develop into a better than average left tackle. His number one problem is he needs to build up his strength so that he can handle the bull rush, because that is his Achilles heel. There's some other problems, and he's one of the few reasons I love Braxton Jones is that he's very honest about his mistakes. You put a microphone in front of him immediately after the game, and he talks about the things that he did wrong. He will say, you know, my partner on my right, he made a mistake there. He's really upfront about it. I think that a full off season of weight training and working with the Bears strength and conditioning will help him tremendously. But if hold on, we'll get to you, Daryl, in a second. But if Ryan Poles signs Orlando Brown, the left tackle from the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's our left tackle this year, and then Braxton Jones has to fight for a job in the middle or at right tackle, I'd be okay with that. I would be okay, because I'm fucking sick and tired of, you know, developing and promising players and so forth. I mean, I need playmakers. I need stars. I need them now. I need blue chip players, you know, like Bill Polian says this, you know, a team needs 7-8 blue chip players in order to compete in the NFL. Guess what? We have fewer now than when he said that, because we traded away Roquan Smith. And arguably Quinn was a blue chip player or close to a blue chip player, but it's gotten bad. So what was it that Daryl said?
I think he was telling me that fuck it, we should lose Sunday, right?
Oh, that's you know, I understand, you know, wanting to get the high draft pick, then stop one more loss and we get the first pick. But here's the thing, Daryl. If this draft, I was talking about this with Greg Gabriel today. If this draft was really loaded at the top with great talent, then I would say, yeah, that will be great, because now you get a high draft pick. Now there's going to be lots of people calling you for that, and you're going to get fucking a boatload of draft picks. But this is not that draft. I mean, any one of the top 5-6 guys in the draft could be the number one draft. Nobody can tell me right now that this one player will be the number one draft pick in the draft, because let's say the Bears get the top pick. They're going to, and they can't trade it or refuse to trade it, they're going to pick either Will Anderson or Jalen Carter from Georgia. There's no sure thing. And those guys both just recently had terrible bowl performances. Carter looked like he was out of shape, and Will Anderson, I don't think, got a sack the entire game. And so this is not the year to be praying you get the number one draft pick. It's not. You can get as good a pick at number 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 than you can in any one of those spots. It's not that kind of year. So I hope that they get a high draft pick. I hope that they trade down and get some more assets. That's probably the quickest way to have a respectable team. But right now, man, this is just things are not laying out for the Bears the way it should have laid out. I think if you would have told Ryan Poles, by the way, that trade for Chase Claypool, it's going to end up being like the 35th pick in the draft, the 36th pick in the draft. So you're trading basically a first round pick, early second round. You want to be specific about it. You're trading him for Chase Claypool. Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure? He probably would say, yeah, maybe I better think about it some more. You know, so things are not working the way I anticipated and want them to work. Excuse my frustration.
Now think about this. When we saw them against the Dolphins, they were coming off a win against New England. And I think maybe the Dallas game was before. But either way, it looked like that we were in it. So when they trade for Claypool, it felt like it was giving us a chance at the time. So I understand Poles attempting to do so, but I also see your point. With regards to the gentleman in the chat, though, I want to say, you know, on Sunday, I that's not how I operate. I can't root for the Bears to lose. If the Bears end up losing, which is quite probable at this juncture, and as a result, in April or May, whenever the draft is now, late April, early May, and you say the Bears are number 1 overall or number 2 overall, I'm going to be happy at that time.
Right.
Like, oh, we might, but right now, looking at January 3rd, 2023, with the game on the 7th, then I'm rooting for the Bears on the 7th. There's just no other way for me to approach it.
Yeah, indeed. I respect that 100%. You know, we should not get into the mentality of, you know, wanting to lose for a good draft pick. If it happens, it happens, but we should not be hoping that it happens, not as a true fan. So Dan and I are going to be there.
The Bears have done that, though. I didn't mean to step on you. It doesn't look like the Bears coaches have kind of done that. Like the way the defense, I mean, no accountability. They can't tackle. They can't defend the pass. They can't do anything. There's not one guy on that defense. Now you had Sanborn. Sanborn was a tackling machine the couple of weeks that he was playing. So I don't want to besmirch Sanborn, but with the guys that are in there now, granted, like you said, the safety, Brisker's going to be good. We think Gordon's going to be good, but the way they're playing right now, collectively as a unit, it's an all-time bad. I mean, all-time. It makes 2014 like Lance Briggs without Urlacher, without Lovey, when they're giving up 50 burgers back-to-back weeks with Treshman. It looks worse than that. At least those teams could do something right. They had those two games like against Green Bay, New England, and then later Philly where they're just getting routed. But their other games, or at least they played well or okay or like average. Like this team can't even get a stop. And if they do get a stop, and let's say the Lions punt, they're not going to get 2 stops in a row. Not at all. So it's up to the offense to keep scoring, or even if they score first, they're going to be behind really quickly. So it looks like Alan Williams and them are just kind of like not giving a fuck. I've been on him all season, though, for not making any adjustments.
You have. You want him fired.
Do. And if you told me Getsy was right with him, okay.
I'm not ready to go there on either one of them, although I had a Twitter exchange where Bellissimo is saying, you know, he needs to blitz more, he needs to do this more and so forth. He's not doing that. That's why Alan Williams should be removed. And, you know, Bellissimo knows more about football than I do, but I just see
that doesn't invalidate your opinion, though.
Right. I just see a team that just has no talent. And Bellissimo's response to that, well, if you have no talent, then why not just blitz the shit out of them and see if that will work? And I'm like, well, I think you're then putting too much stress on that young defensive backfield to play one-on-one, and they're probably going to get burned, which I've seen. But at the same time, the blitz, you know, has occasionally worked too. But be that as it may, I think it would be a disservice to fire any one of the 2 coordinators. Given the amount of talent that you gave them, it would be a bad look for Ryan Post / Matt Eberflus if they started to fire their coordinators. I could see the defensive line coach being fired because he was never a defensive line coach. He was the assistant defensive
receiver coach.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a terrible passing game here. The terrible passing game.
He has no track record, so I could see there being some changes with the position coaches. But I think the coordinators they get a pass unless, now I'll say this in strong terms too, if you absolutely know, and this is really the inner circle, you and I and Greg Gabriel and nobody knows, but if you're in the inner circle and you know this fucking Alan Williams, man, he's not doing what he said he was going to do in the meeting, or this Alan Williams, he has fucking no creativity whatsoever. I'm Matt Eberflus, and I told him, run it the way you want to run it, and the way he's running it ain't just going to work. If that's the case, then fire them as soon as the clock hits 0-0-0 Sunday against the Vikings. Then I want
to point out in 2004, you know, we brought over Terry Shea from Kansas City. We signed Thomas Jones to be Priest Holmes, and obviously we were all happy with Thomas. But we wanted that offense, and when it was so bad in 2004, Lovey didn't fuck around. He fired him immediately after the 2004 season. And recent history, and not going back to, you know, a decade plus ago, 2 decades ago, Denver hired the guy from Green Bay that was Rodgers' coordinator. He didn't even make it through the whole season. They're like, this guy's a fraud. He fucking sucks. And they fired his sorry ass like after getting blown out on national TV on Christmas. So Hackett was he couldn't hack it, so they got rid of him. So if that's the case, then why can't the Bears ever do that? When they're like, it's clear that they've got the wrong guy, and we never can just make a move, you know?
Yeah.
Well, we held on to Nagy too long. We held on to Trestman. Well, maybe we got rid of Trestman at the right point, but Nagy and Fox were both kept on 1 year too long for sure.
Agree. I totally agree. If you are absolutely certain this is not working, then you got to make the move. You can't say, well, just give him one more year. That's a worse way to run an operation. If you feel in your gut and you know that this guy is just not, doing well, maybe he'll develop next season. Sorry, that's not the way it should work in the National Football League. If I worked in big corporations, somebody was doing a bad job, you put them on a performance review plan, you give them 6 months to meet these goals and so forth. You can't do that in pro football. You got to give me instant results. And if you're not giving me those instant results, you got to convince me that you don't have the personnel around you to get those results, and that your plan B and plan C with that B-level personnel or C-level personnel, you still couldn't get anything going. So at this point, I'm going to give those guys the benefit of the doubt. But I'm just so fucking frustrated right now. I'm so fucking frustrated. I apologize to everyone who's,
please be frustrated. That's what we need. This is what we're doing. We're bearing our souls. Yes. And the defensive line, they're professionals, right? That's the last I heard. They're professional football players.
Mm-hmm. That's what I've heard.
Do you think it's possible, all things equal? Let's say we were all young men here, like we're 25 years old. We're never going to be good enough to play for the Bears, but let's just say it was like an 87 scab game. Is there even just an accidental tackle that we would make? Like we just tripped somebody's fucking heel and they fell and got credited for a tackle. It's like sometimes you don't even have to be good and you can make a play is what I'm trying to get at. Even us not being professional athletes, if you put us in there when we're young, we might be able to make one play. These guys have had the whole season and can't make a play. I've never seen a unit be so inept in all my years of Bears football. Okay, so you can't get to the passer. You can't get any sacks with your front four. But maybe they at least stop the run, right? No, they can't stop the run either. They can't stop the run. They can't get penetration. What do they do, Justin Jones? Why do you have a C on your uniform? Why are you here? You're a professional. You can't make a tackle? Mm-hmm. I know. Why are they on the team if they can't make, and no one can make a tackle? I don't get it. Have you ever seen a unit not just this inept the whole season? Just like a floppy fucking impotent cock all season. For real. Like, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm just like, the front four has been dreadful. Dreadful. Have you ever seen it in your life? Even the 14 defense that was historically bad under Mel Tucker. They can at least make a tackle occasionally, even if it was by accident. Does anybody else agree or disagree? I feel like I don't mean to give a monologue here.
Everybody agrees with you, even Daryl.
But have you ever seen that though? And in your mind, can you think about that ever happening with any team? Like you always tell me, and I'm not mocking this. I appreciate, because I love history. You're like, oh man, the 1-13 team. That's your like, and then Mike North says the same thing. The 69 Bears. Okay, but I wasn't around, and you can't watch the 69 games, as you know, because you can't buy them or anything. So I didn't see that, but I don't know if they were that inept and not being able to make a tackle. Like I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it's bad, man. It's bad. And I think, this season can't end soon enough. We'll be there Sunday against the Vikings. The Vikings have to win that game so that they don't lose their seeding in the playoffs. So they've got a chance to jump to the number 1 seed if Philadelphia loses. So the game means a lot to them. So they're going to put their starters out there, and I'm glad they are. And I hope Justin Fields plays. And I know people are saying, why play him and so forth? Why? Because I need to see him complete some passes and throw for 300 yards and a couple of touchdown passes. He needs to grow as a passer. Does he have the weapons around him? No. Does he have the offensive line? No. But still, the snaps are invaluable. Let's get him out there. Let's get him some success. And let's hopefully win a game, because if we're drafting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 in this draft, it doesn't really fucking matter.
If you listen to any of our recordings from the 2021 season, and they're all available in the archives, right? So I challenge anyone to look back on this. One of the things I was saying, and again, I'm just a guy, I'm not trying to be the voice of authority, but my criticism last season of Fields, and I blame Matt Nagy more so than I did Fields at the time, I was like, man, it's just so hard for him to complete a pass. It's just like, why can't you get him into a rhythm early on? Like, just throw a little fucking dump off to David Montgomery or throw a slant pass. They don't ever they never run a slant. Why? Claypool's a big guy. Hell, 3 yards, boom, hit him with the slant. Every other team kills us with the slant, especially the Packers. Like, why can't you just get him some? And suddenly you look up and, oh, man, Fields is 10 of 10 for 79, 80 yards. It's always the third quarter, and Justin is like, 9 of 15 for 79 yards, and it's in the second half.
Right.
Like, you're not even going to sniff 300 yards. Like, I mean, fuck, just get him some easy completions. Quit running designed quarterback runs. Like, there were more run plays called for Justin Sunday than there were pass plays. And you've got two guys that I would think in Herbert and Montgomery that are like, please hand me the ball. Especially Montgomery. He's like, I got to get paid whether I'm here or gone. Please let me run the ball. That's what I'm paid to do. So, but they just keep running Justin, and I love to watch Justin break free and run. But in this game Sunday, can we please just run our running backs and tell Justin, dude, it's the last game of the season. Throw the ball. Have fun. Show us what you got. Act like it's Ohio State. Just sling the rock. What are you going to do? Is it going to matter if you lose? If you're 3-14, remember, if you lose, it helps the draft. So go out and play loose, and not with this same fucking bullshit game plan that they've used for the last month or two, where they run him constantly and refuse to take chances.
Yeah, and Cliff says recency bias is not the way to look at this, and if he's referring to our frustration with what's been happening recently, I totally get it. In the big scheme of things, I expected things to be bad this year, but now living through it, it's just gotten to the point where I am fucking done. I don't want to see any more losses. How many more losses do we have to experience in order to really get this rebuild going?
The thing was, early on, we had all those close games. The first half of the year, and I don't even, I'm not saying it's because of the Roquan trade. I'm not even making that assumption. I think that's a coincidence because, again, Sanborn was playing really well in his spot, and then he got hurt. But I'm just saying the first part of the year, remember, I told you I thought the Bears could be competitive. They could make the playoffs. And some of that looked like it was plausible earlier in the year because how many games did they lose? Like the Giants are making the playoffs. They should have beaten the Giants. They should have beaten Minnesota. They should have beaten Miami. All of those are fucking playoff teams. They should have beaten Washington. They can make the playoffs. All of these losses, they were right there. Even at various points, they were in the Dallas game too. So they were in the Green Bay game in week 2. Hell, they were in the Green Bay game in week 13. So it looked like the team I thought they were. I thought they were closer to the team that I thought they were early on in the year. But the second half of this season, they have been exactly what all the early projections of them were going to be, which was just putrid.
Oh, I was so fucking pissed off watching listening to the national media just fucking pound the Bears, to just pound the Bears to the point where it was just making me angry. And, they end up being right. But part of it, too, is that Ryan Poles just kept depleting talent during the season, to trade Roquan Smith and to trade Quinn. And I know Quinn hasn't had a good season. He's on IR now and stuff. But you're still trading away a pass rusher who is better than anyone else currently on the team. That's huge. And it puts much more stress on your defensive backs. So it is not the ideal situation. J2K has been trying to get me. I think he keeps asking me what coach on this team is on the hot seat. So I mentioned the defensive line coach. I'm trying to find his name now. It is offensive line coach is Chris Morgan. His job is safe because despite the fact of all the problems that we've had with this offensive line, I think he's done a good job. I think he's a good teacher. He deserves to come back. Travis Smith is the defensive line coach who I've been targeting now for the last 3-4 weeks, wondering who is this guy? What has he done? And so I learned that this is his first job as a position coach. He's always been an assistant coach. And Travis Smith has just not been cutting it. There have to be some accountability. Some heads have to roll. I would start.
Can I suggest one?
Sure.
Please. The passing game coordinator, he's the wide receiver coach too. I'm sorry. The wide receivers haven't played well. Maybe that's the offensive line's fault. Maybe that's Justin's fault. But the passing game has been awful. And you're the passing game coordinator and the wide receiver coach. I think it's time for you to turn in your playbook, sir.
It's Tolbert, Tyke Tolbert.
He's got to go.
Let me get his bio up. Tolbert is in his first year as a passing game coordinator, wide receivers coach. A 19-year NFL coaching veteran who spent the past 4 seasons as the Giants wide receiver coach. Oh, Giants wide receiver coach. Oh my gosh, that's a terrible group. And a position that he previously held with Arizona, Buffalo, Carolina, and Denver. So he's been around a lot. Maybe we need.
He's been fired a lot. That's what it sounds like.
That's exactly. And when you're telling me his last job was coaching the wide receivers for the Giants, it's like, geez, couldn't do anything with the kid they picked up from NIU and paid them $10 million. So anyway, that's our bitch session. We'll try not to bitch the rest of the way. We want to have some laughs. Let's get to the announcement here. Dan Tooch is frozen, and now he's joining us back. There he is. And he's such a handsome young man. So here's the deal. I quit. No. That would be cool if I really quit, right? Dan Aguirre came to me with an idea saying, you should leave, Aldo, and let me take over the show.
No, I did not say that.
Did I dream that?
You dreamt that. I don't want anybody to think getting this construed. As I've told you many times, I'm working on the show because of you. I've already got a broadcasting degree, I've career and won awards, and my ego is successfully satiated.
Mm-hmm.
If for some reason you did quit today, I wouldn't care if I continued on in podcasting. So again, my tie to this is with you is my friendship. Now, do I like Nomad? Do I like the other Dan? Absolutely. So that leads to the segue. I hope I'm teeing you up there.
What about Tooch? Do you like Tooch?
Of course, yeah. Of course. Think the world of Santucci. Think the world of other people that we've had on, such as Aaron Mikulski and Chris Watts and and Zimmerman and all these guys, man, and Sanjay,
Sanjay Gupta.
No, not him. Sonny. We call him Sonny, and our guy Jay Bonds. These are guys I like. Everybody is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
except Retro. Fuck you, Retro. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I don't like Retro either. Fucking guy. What's his real name? Retro. Come on. Tooch, welcome to the show.
Hello.
We're just talking about our plans here for the future. So here's the deal. Nomad and Mr. Shorty are joining this show, which will undergo a new branding, new title. Tooch has elected to stay on because we owe him money, and
he's in love with me personally. It's sad.
True.
I don't know.
It's one of the upcoming segments for the new show where Tooch and Dan Aguirre are going to do a gay porn video together. And we'll premiere it here.
Is it time for Bear's State of Affairs?
Well, let us finish with the announcement, and then we'll bring you into the Bear's State of Affairs. All right. So, but that is the big news, is that I am not going to be on every week. I hope we do about 50 of these a year. And so I'm hoping to be on for 35, maybe 40 of them. And so in my thinking on this is, well, who could join us to really help provide good insight into football and also kind of maintain the comedic appeal that we've built here. It's raunchy humor, it's ball busting, it's locker room humor, and we have fun doing that. And Nomad and Mr. Shorty were two guys who are now currently hosting Bears Country Podcast Monday here on the Barroom Network and their own YouTube site. And I thought that bringing them in would be a great way to add to the show, and then also give me the flexibility to do some things on my own. Now, the Dan and Aldo Bare Their Souls show is not going to go completely away, because I've talked to Dan about us doing maybe a handful of specials during the year. Maybe, we do a 90-minute show on movies. Maybe we do a 90-minute show on looking back on a particular Bears team. And we do that on our own, and we stick it in on a weekend during the offseason or whatever.
Great blowjobs in your life that you've received.
I like this idea.
Yeah,
it's a great idea.
And I'm always about, experimenting and helping people grow. And I think, and Dan's the same way too. And so with Nomad and Mr. Shorty, who are both fairly new to the world of podcasting, we see a lot of potential and talent in them. They've already exhibited that they've got the talent and potential to do their own show. And the thinking here is that under these circumstances, it would only make them better. So I'm really looking forward to working with those guys, and we're going to premiere the new version of the show next week at the end of the regular season. Dan and Aldo Bare Their Souls will, in its current iteration, the final show will be Saturday. Why is that? Because Dan Aguirre will be in town. He'll be seated right over there. And on Saturday night, he and I are going to break away from having carnal knowledge with each other. So we'll be sweaty.
Bringing hookers. So that was like that Tom Hanks movie Bachelor Party. If you remember.
That's right. I just gotta get rid of my wife.
And drugs and
that would be cool, actually. See if I can get rid of my wife that day. So Dan and Aldo Bare Their Souls, that will be our final show as in this world. And Stan and I will look back and talk and have some fun, just the two of us. And that'll be this Saturday sometime. We'll announce the time later. But then when we were back next Tuesday, it'll be John Santucci. It will be Nomad. It will be Dan's. How do you pronounce Dan S's last name? Dan
Shortino.
I don't know. I call him the other Dan.
Yeah, Dan Shortino, I think it is.
Yep.
He's going to be the other
Shortino.
Dan, whether he wants it or not. I can't call him Shorty. He's
The
not short,
The
I'm
OD,
taller than
the
he
OD.
is, but he's not short.
Oh, he's a big, tall guy. And then Dan and myself will, of course, be back next week to provide some more fun and entertainment as a group. I'm going to probably find a new theme song. I don't know. We'll change things up a little bit, and we'll have some fun. And I think the show will be even better and bigger than before. And then when, like the final week in January, I'm going to be in Las Vegas all week. Speaking of hookers and bachelor parties, but I'm actually there for the East-West Shrine game, and so picking up some information for what we're going to do with our draft coverage, and we're going to have some exciting news regarding that coming out.
That game is in Vegas.
Week. Yes, the East-West Shrine game is in Vegas. Staying at the Luxor Hotel and walking to the stadium, so it's going to be great.
Nice. It isn't usually in Vegas, right?
Correct. They moved last year. It was in Vegas, and then before that,
Okay.
I think they were down in Texas. Now, the Senior Bowl is still in Mobile, Alabama, but it's an interesting story what is going on between those two college all-star games. Is that now they're doing some serious competing with one another for talent. And the East-West Shrine game, under the direction of Eric Galco, has worked out an agreement with the NFL so that the coaches will be coaching, NFL coaching staffs will be coaching the Shrine game. So the Bears, since they're going to end up either the worst record or the second worst record, they're probably going to be coaching at the East-West Shrine game. And then
they're going to hurt these kids.
Yeah, exactly. Bet on the other team. The Senior Bowl is going to have NFL coaches, but they're not all going to be from one team. They're going to be selected all around the league. And so there's a nice competition. We'll talk about that another time, but there's some nice competition going on between those two all-star games. So I'm going to be there. And so that'll leave the guys to do their first show without me officially. And so, And frankly, in 2023, I want to do a little less. You know, I'm going to hit 65 in September, so it's time to not be the podfather so much anymore, and be a grandfather to my beautiful 6-month-old Jackson Rig. So, you know, there are a lot of changes in my life and stuff. And so I'm very fortunate to have the support of Dan and Tooch and the new guys coming in. This show is going to be better than ever, and I will still have a strong role in it, but not quite as many appearances as in the past. So that's
you were mentioning Vegas real quick. Did you ever see the movie Very Bad Things?
Mm-hmm.
It had, I remember Christian Slater's in it, Cameron Diaz. Jeremy Piven is fucking this hooker against a wall, an escort, you know, and he's hammering it deep, you know, and her head hits this thing and he's not realizing it, and she dies while he's fucking her, but he doesn't even know it. So he finishes and they realize she's got it, you know, she's dead, and then they bury her, and then it's kind of like Macbeth. Can they live with it? Because now you got to go home, and can you live with the fact you've gotten away with this crime? But it's a very, what you would call a black or dark comedy. You know, it's very, anyway, it's from 98. But so I was going to make a joke, like when you're at the East-West Shrine game, for fuck's sake, make sure the hookers don't hit their head against the wall when you're hitting.
I always take precautions. I pack a couple of helmets, both the rubber kind and the head kind. Stephen,
well, if you ever see that movie on, it's worth watching.
Okay, I will. What's it called again?
Very bad things.
Very bad. I've heard the title before, but didn't know anything about it. But any movie where there's fucking of hookers, I want to watch it. So
and then burying them in the desert, like Goodfellas or Casino.
Yeah, that is awesome, man. That's up my alley. Do you guys ever plan on going to the NFL Draft Combine? No, Steven. The reason why is the media has less access to the players there, and so basically you're kind of relegated to watching stuff from the stands, and which is great because then you're in control of what you're looking at. But I prefer to watch it on television. The media is not really given much access at all. There is some access to the players, but not like at these all-star games. At these all-star games, we can see players in pads practicing and hitting each other, and then talk to them after the game on the field. And that's a better use of our money to spend on that. What I regret is that I don't have somebody to go to the Senior Bowl while we're at the Shrine Bowl game. I don't have the money to pay somebody to go cover the Senior Bowl. And so I hate the fact that we're not going to have some representation there. But we did apply for media credentials from the Senior Bowl, and what that gives us access to is all of the practice footage. So those tape geeks like Danny Shimon and Neil Stopchinski, they can look at all of the practice footage and give you informed analysis of how those guys played during practice week, because that's really the most important thing of all these all-star games, is when you get the one-on-one battles between defensive linemen and offensive linemen, because the games themselves have special rules, and you can only rush these amount of guys, and these guys are playing for the first time together and stuff. It's the practices where the money is, and so we'll do the best we can here at the Barroom Network to get you as much great information on these young players coming into the league. All right, Tooch, it is now your show. You take over.
Oh.
You do your bear. Oh, you look surprised. What happened?
Yeah, we're gonna get the bear roaring for Dan.
Yeah, I always laugh at that. The bear coming.
Aldo's gonna go take a piss and miss the whole thing.
No, I'm staying right here. I'm actually going to refill my drink. Yes, I'm staying right here.
All right. I love the bear. The bear's the best part.
It
of the
is
season, really. all truth. All right. State of affairs. 8 games. The streak. Week 16. Week 17. Penultimate takedown. That was for Don Burr. I gotta give him something.
Give him something.
Happy New Year, Barflies. Well, the Bears' losing streak is now at 9 games. And again, the season can't end soon enough for Bears fans. Last Sunday saw the Bears losing to the Lions in Detroit 41-10. And although getting blown out by the Lions isn't the way that any of us expected to start the new year, we Bears fans are content to shake off that cringy Trestman era feeling from Sunday and wrap ourselves in warm, fuzzy thoughts of better days ahead. One of those warm and fuzzy thoughts is that the Bears are still alive for the number 1 overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. All we need is a little help from a former Bears head coach and a former Bears quarterback. If the Bears lose to the Vikings, who are looking to wrap up their first division title since 2017, and the Texans and Lovie Smith win against a very beatable Colts team and BD Nick Foles, the Bears will secure the number 1 pick in the draft. Think about it. After last Sunday's excellent performances by Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud, that definitely boosted the value of the Bears' top pick. With the number 1 overall pick, the Bears could control the flow of the entire draft. So, while this season has turned out to be one big pile of number 2, the Bears actually have a chance at number 1. Ryan Poles could collect a ransom in picks with the number 1 overall pick. And if you don't think that thought has crossed his mind more than a couple times, well, I've got an old horse racing park to sell you. Could Poles do some fine work with the number 2 overall pick? Sure. But we all know the number 1 overall pick is worth considerably more, Nomad. Sure, it may come with all the shame and stigma of being the worst team in the NFL for a year, but let's not kid ourselves. The Bears have a lot of holes to plug and a lot of work to do, just like every other offseason. So the question remains, should Justin Fields play or sit out the season finale? Against the Lions, Fields took a vicious hit on a scramble and had to leave the game for the concussion tent. Fortunately, Fields was okay and returned to the game, where he finished with 132 yards rushing, including a long run of 60 yards. The problem is he only had 7 completions. But Fields now has 1,143 yards rushing for the season. Who would have thought we'd have a 1,000-yard rushing quarterback? Good enough for second all-time among NFL quarterbacks and trailing Lamar Jackson for number 1 overall in the NFL record books by only 64 yards. Fields is averaging 74.9 yards rushing per game, so he is on pace to eclipse Jackson and add another NFL record to his young career. The team and Fields himself are surely eyeing that NFL record. And should the Bears win on Sunday, they could drop all the way down to the 4th overall pick. Regardless of where they end up, Bears need a solid offseason, both in the draft and in free agency. Can the Bears right the ship quickly? In the NFC North, the Bears have one thing the other 3 teams do not: a young, budding superstar quarterback that they can build around. Or do they? The debate rages on. Next year could determine whether or not Fields can figure out the NFL passing game, as well as whether or not the Bears have the coaches in place who can develop a quarterback like Fields. Let me give you a list of the things that the Bears do need to do. Get our quarterback a number 1 receiver. Number 2, address the offensive line. Number 3, get a 3 technique to run this defense the way it needs to be run. And 4, get an edge rusher who can get consistent pressure. Those things are critical. The Bears always have a lot of holes to fill every offseason. Bears fans are used to that. Last Sunday's game against the Lions really underscored the Bears' lack of depth and top-end talent on the roster. As well, injury attrition reared its ugly head, especially on the offensive line and in the defensive backfield. Most likely, the Bears will be undermanned against the Vikings next week. We may put up a fight in the first half, but we're likely headed for 3-14 on the season. The barkeeper will pour himself a double before Bear football. I'll join him with the double bourbon and maybe a few tears. And sadly, there'll be no victory dinner at GD Ritzy's for Dan Aguirre. And that is Bears State of Affairs.
Yeah, baby. What a great job. Applause, man.
Does Dan know about GD Ritzy's?
I do not.
Dan?
No? Oh, okay.
Explain it to him.
Huntington, West Virginia Supper Club.
Oh, well, I should know Huntington well, but don't know that establishment. And considering I'll be with Aldo in Illinois Sunday,
right.
I don't think I'll be eating in West Virginia.
Nope. No. We'll be having some.
Are we going to be
cuisine.
doing the Bears post game? Are we on board for that, Aldo?
No, I wasn't planning on it, but I can make arrangements to do it. So
I was just curious. I mean, I'm not trying to whore myself in, but if you were going to, I would try to whore myself in. Is what I'm trying to say.
I don't want to do it, to be honest with you. My hope is that after the game, you and I go pick up some chicks.
I would love for it to be a victory. Is that possible?
Yes.
At this point, I think the Bears are 1-7 when I'm in attendance over the years.
Fuck, damn! Why'd you say that? Jeez. And they're 1-3 in games that you and I have attended together. Is that correct? Or 1-2?
Let's see. We saw the Browns game, the Lions game, the Dolphins game. So we've seen 3 together so far, and they're 1-2 in those.
Wow. Jeez. You better get your shit together and bring us a victory Sunday.
and the White Sox are 0-1 when I attend with you.
and they lost ugly, man. That was one of the ugliest baseball games I ever sat through. Jesus.
Actually, Tooch, my friend Holly says that she lived in Huntington for 3 years and attended Marshall, and she's never heard of that place.
Oh, okay. Have to look it up. Gee,
You sure you got the right place?
It's probably before your times.
Before your. It was during your porn days?
Yeah.
By the way, I was actually looking at some what's his name again? Ron Jeremy.
The interview you sent me. I was about to joke about it. I was like, I hope Tooch doesn't nod off and fall asleep like Ron Jeremy in that interview you sent me.
Yeah, I found this. I was looking for some funny stuff that we could make some fun of Tooch and his porn career. And so I ran into this video of Ron Jeremy consistently falling asleep during the interview. It's like he had narcolepsy.
Yeah, well, maybe it was hibernation season for hedgehogs.
Did you get a chance to see this, Dan?
Yeah, I watched the clip that you text me. Yeah.
Yeah. Here it is. I'm going to put it up on the screen here. Hold on a second. Here it comes.
Or does it? This man's bald pattern is just scary. Please don't let me go bald like that.
The last time I spoke to you was in Vegas. Remember that? We went to Vegas together.
Vaguely.
But we went to, you remember we went to Pamela Anderson's show?
With Hans Klock, the magician.
You know Hans Klock.
Yeah, I know Pam too a little bit.
Pam,
I have her home number. I've talked to her on the phone a couple of times.
So we went, and you fell asleep there as well as you're doing now during my interview. During the show.
Don't feel any special. Just I fall asleep with everybody equally. I'm not singling you out.
You find everybody.
And here he is, a nice guy named Robert. Robert, it's nice to meet you. You know what?
You find everybody equally bored.
I'll tell you, don't never fall asleep on a porno film. Oh, you're in a heap of trouble.
Have you done that?
And I've stopped. I'll be like this. We're doing the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't bring that out. Three Stooges.
Yeah, and that is be dead to the world, right? Then they find Howard Stern would find the nastiest, biggest, blackest dirk and put it right smack against my face. And then he rapes me. I'm like, Ron, what? There it is. They were slung down like this.
Did you actually?
The story for you. You want a dirty, quick sex story?
Oh, of course we do. Where's my light bulb? Yeah.
It plays off Ron Jeremy there.
Okay.
I was a young guy here, a young gentleman, a young lad at 23, and I went out to this party. The radio station was having a Christmas party, and it had an open bar. So I went to this open bar, and I drank. I was young, 23, so I drank a lot. And I was with a friend that drove, and he and I tried to pick up women the whole night. Neither one of us were successful. So I get home. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I've been drinking all day. So I was like, I got to call somebody up. I want the company of a female, So I call this lady up named Tina. I can say her name. Fuck, it's 2004. And so Tina comes over, and thankfully she's wanting to do whatever. And the last thing I remember, I was getting a blowjob. And then I wake up the next day, and my shit's hanging out and she's gone. So I get up and the guy I went to the party with named Brandon, I was like, the fuck happened to Tina? He's like, bro, she's so mad at you. I was like, what did I do? She said, I was sucking this motherfucker's dick and he passed out. He said she slammed the door and everything. He said it made shit on the wall shake. And he's like, she was furious, man. He's like, I'm surprised the door alone didn't wake you up. But he's like, you were just snoring. So I passed out getting head once in 2004. So it made me think of that because of Ron Jeremy.
I want to know if that's happened to anyone else. Tooch, come on, give it to us straight, brother. Did that ever happen to you?
Really? That'd be hard for me to fall asleep.
No pun intended.
Might have to be.
It's happened to me, man. I've fallen asleep during sex. I hate to say it, but it has. It wasn't because I was bored. It was just I was too fucking tired.
The other thing that's happened to me in that scenario, and this was when I was I'm in the vagina, you know, and it was from a perspective of me on top. But I had drunk a liter of vodka, and I didn't even want to drink. It was like she was like peer pressuring me, but I was already like 28, so I was kind of starting to quit drinking anyway. But I just dove in too much, man, because it was vanilla twist Smirnoff, and she had some vanilla Coke. So I mixed the shit, and all you could taste was the soda. So I drank the whole fucking liter, the whole bottle. And so now I'm hitting it, and this lady's name was Tammy. But it's so many years ago, I feel like I can say that. I'm not saying her last name. I'm not besmirching her. But so I'm doing my business with her, and I was like, oh, God, the room's starting to spin. The room's starting to spin. I got to just for a second, Tammy, I got to stop. And I got off of her bed, and I just vomited all over her floor, and I passed out. It was terrible. I woke up cold in my own vomit, saying to her, please don't clean it up. Please make me clean it up. And then, like 3 hours later, I wake up again, still naked, cold as fuck, and no vomit. And I was like, why did you? She goes, Dan, there was vomit. I mean, there was blood in your vomit. I had to clean it.
No. Oh,
so
my God.
I didn't drink any more booze, like liquor. That, like I said, that was in 2010, like right around the time I turned 30. I didn't drink liquor again until like 35. Like I just quit because I didn't know what the blood in it sounded bad. And I've since not really drunk much at all anymore. So that's where it's all started, man. But yes, I was inside it, and the room started to spin, and that was a terrible feeling.
Tammy Johnson, you say?
No. I can't say her last name, you know.
Tammy Robinson?
No, but even that's not it at all, but I still can't say it. But she would be like Mrs. Robinson from The Graduate because she was 10 years older than me.
Wow. Did that movie turn you on?
Yeah. Like the mom especially, because like I told you in my early 20s, man, because of my radio show, I was completely live all the time back then, and women interacted with me, and I had the same voice that I have now at like fucking 14. So in terms of being deep and stuff. So I was like, you know, when I started working radio, and I'd only slept with like 3 women, and then I had a 4-year relationship end, and these older women started like calling, man. And before I knew it, I was that was my thing. I suddenly was my niche was fucking 50-year-olds, and I'm like 24.
Wow, nice.
So yeah, The Graduate thing is sort of a turn on in that regard. I don't know. Let me ask you guys this though: if you're Dustin Hoffman, do you want to fuck the daughter or the mom in that film? Boy, that's a tough question. Yeah, but if you had the chance to do one and be with one or what have you, which one would you be with?
Go ahead, Tooch.
Tell us comments.
Tell us asking if it's Tammy Burr. Is she a Detroit Lions fan?
Is that Don Burr's wife?
You tell us.
Well, maybe that was her. No.
All right. So Johnny Santucci, which one are you doing? Anne Bancroft, or what was the name of the actress who played gorgeous woman? She was in
Kathleen Quinlan? Is that
no.
One more question before you answer this. Is the implication at the end of The Graduate they get on like some kind of public transportation. Is it a bus or something at the end? And it seems like they're about to break up again, doesn't it? When it goes off, it seems like they're suddenly bored with each other again real quick. And
yeah, it's funny that you say that.
Don't look too much into it.
When I was in college, that was one of the films that we studied, and so we had this long discussion. Catherine Ross. We had this long discussion about the significance of that scene because they do. Dustin Hoffman, spoiler alert, shows up and ruins Catherine Ross's marriage to some white waspy guy. And they get on a public bus and they rush to the end of the bus and they sit down, they look at each other, and then they look forward and they have these like sly little smiles, but they don't look really happy.
It's so like, regret. It looks like regret.
Yeah. And so the consensus in the class is that they were like really fearful as to what is ahead. I was like, what the fuck did we do? You know, are we going to really be together? You know? And so a tough road ahead, you know, they're in a vehicle and stuff. So that was the consensus in the class. Dude, did you see the movie? And what was your impression of the ending?
That's exactly what I would say too, Aldo. There's, you know, we just did something. We might have to, there might be some consequences.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah.
And
by the way,
the young girl's character seems very fickle anyway. And just like it's going to change her mind over and over and over to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Catherine Ross is the one woman that at any age I would choose over Anne Bancroft. And Anne Bancroft is a gorgeous, gorgeous woman. But I had a thing for Miss Ross at the time, and I actually still do. She still looks pretty good for her age. Take a look at her there.
She looks like Steven Tyler from Aerosmith there.
A little bit.
Good Lord. She's done something to her lips, like collagen or something. Now she's not looking good old. She looks like Steve Tyler.
You're a mean man.
Dude looks like a lady.
You're a mean man.
I'll tell you a girl I'd never heard of that I thought was so fucking fine. I watched this old movie. It's not super old. It's from like 97, but I'd never watched it until last night, called Grosse Pointe Blank with Cusack.
Yeah,
the girl in it is fucking magnificent. She's a British actress named Minnie Driver.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know her at all until that movie.
She was in Good Will Hunting.
I never saw that. Isn't that like a Matt Damon movie or something?
Yeah, it's a good movie with Robin Williams.
The Matt Damon movie I've ever liked was The Departed. And that's because of Nicholson and DiCaprio and Wahlberg.
Yeah.
She was in Big Night too with Stanley Tucci and Tony Shalhoub. Do you remember that?
Minnie Driver is a very gorgeous. Yes, I remember Tony Shalhoub. He played Monk on the TV show.
Yeah.
Oh,
you guys
hated
never
that show,
seen Big Night? Did you never see that movie, Aldo? Big Night?
No, I've heard great things about it. Yeah,
it's really excellent. It's two brothers who have an Italian restaurant, and Tony Shalhoub is like the genius cook, and Stanley Tucci is like the manager. Minnie Driver is the love interest, and she works at the restaurant as well. And they have this big night coming up with a food critic. You know, of course, Italian food is kind of new, you know, for restaurants and stuff. He came from Italy. Tony Shalhoub wants to do these like, you know, other Italian dishes that are more, you know, uncommon, and everyone just wants spaghetti and meatballs. So it's like, you have to see it. It's great. It's a really good movie.
That's one that I've got to put back on my list because it's one of those films that escaped me when it was released, and it's hard to find now, or I don't see it come up on my list. I've seen a bunch of stuff lately that I'd love to talk to you guys about, but I don't know if you guys have seen it, and I don't want to pontificate on stuff that I'm the only one that has seen. But
that one lady on The White Lotus season 2 is. I'm sorry, Aldo. Go ahead.
Yes. No. I'm sighing with sexual. Say again.
Something's fucked up. It's like you were like moving your lips and no voice was coming out. It was like a bad fucking karate movie. Yeah. It was shit like that.
Is it better now?
No, you keep freezing on my end. I don't know if it's me or you.
A little bit. Aldo froze a little bit there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Aldo's freezing on me. Well, I was just going to say the lady from the White, what's it called again? The White Lotus?
Correct.
Yeah, the lady that played the escort, the Italian lady. Oh my God, that's one of the hottest women I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The one that fucks the kid, that Michael from The Sopranos' his kid, and then she like literally fucks him and steals that money from him and hustles him. Oh my God, she's amazing.
Yeah,
she can hustle me too.
Trying to find a nice picture of her. Yeah, but what a great role for her. She plays Lucia, I think is and she's just, without giving anything away, because I really, if those of you who like good drama, sexual drama and stuff, The White Lotus, 8 episodes, maybe 7 or 8 episodes. This is the one that Dan is referring to. She's an Italian actress. Where are you? There she is. She is simply gorgeous, and she plays an escort who is very adept at getting as much money out of you as possible. So, really, really, really good story, man.
Yeah, who is that?
She was phenomenal.
Whoops, can't do that. Let's put Dan up there. Dan, you go in the corner, Dan.
That's fine. I deserve it. Bring up this actress.
Yeah, who was that actress?
Her name is where are you? Simona Tabasco. Wow.
Oh. Even her name makes me want to touch my penis.
Tabasco?
Simona. It just sounds like, I got head from Simona.
Yeah, that is a nice name.
Yeah.
What'd you think of Aubrey Plaza in that show?
You know, I'm a big fan of hers anyways. I've told you about she was in not the night before, Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates, and that one with Robert De Niro called Bad Grandpa. And recently she's increased her style of act. She was in a good movie called Emily the Criminal. Was in that Child's Play remake. Emily the Criminal is pretty good, isn't it, dude?
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah, like
her Netflix movie was excellent.
What's the plot line on that one?
Oh man. She's a lady. Yeah, go ahead, I'll let Tooch tell you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. Aubrey Plaza is like a young woman trying to just get a job and get stable after she did some time in prison for assault.
And a bunch of student loan debt.
Right, and she has a bunch of student loan debt, so she has some financial pressure and past deeds pressure, and she's working a dead end job, and her other friends are trying to get her better jobs, straight jobs or whatever, and she meets one of her coworkers, introduces her to these guys who do some questionable things, like with making their own fake credit card
fraud.
Yeah, credit card fraud. She goes in and buys stuff and kind of gets a fling going with one of the guys. That dude's Theo Rossi, the actor. I don't know if you've seen him before. He's like Puerto Rican, Italian, Middle Eastern, Jewish guy. He's got you say he's got every ethnicity. That's him. He's got every ethnicity. He's been in a bunch of movies lately. Sometimes or most times as a bad guy, but he's kind of like a soft-hearted criminal that falls in with her, and they come up with some plan, some scheming and stuff like that, and you'd have to watch. I don't want to give away much, but that sum it up pretty good, Dan. Or
well, she gets really in over her head.
Yeah,
and it's like she can't
into it.
She can't get out of this world that she's in. It's almost like if you were one of the guys in Goodfellas, you can't just be suddenly going to tell Paul Sorvino I'm out. It's not so easy. And they're mad because the guy's crew, because he's suddenly fucking this white woman.
Yeah.
And they don't trust her because she's white and because she's a woman. And so now there's this rift between the two family members too. It gets pretty wild, and it's fairly violent. It's definitely rated R.
Yeah.
She really shows she's a good actress, man. She can play different roles. She was in the Child's Play remake, like I said, in 2019. She's great at comedy, can do suspense, drama, and she was good in The White Lotus. She had a great tan in The White Lotus. She was supposed to be half Puerto Rican there, if you heard Aldo.
Yeah.
The White Lotus, her character was biracial. She was part Puerto Rican and part white, her character.
She really is part Puerto Rican.
Oh, I didn't know that, but they kept stressing that with her character because that was sort of their background. They were talking about a couple things in her youth was in San Juan on the show, because remember the other woman and the other guy are kind of snobs.
Right.
Yeah.
And had really traveled everywhere and kind of made them feel inferior.
Yeah. You know, and the other thing about Aubrey Plaza that I like, anytime she makes one of these talk show appearances, she just nails it, man. She is so fucking funny. She's got such a deprecating humor and deadpan humor. She's just phenomenal. Great actress, great comedic timing. And I can't wait to see Emily the Criminal now. I want to see her in the dramatic role.
Yeah.
So
you mean bring it Saturday?
Excuse me?
I said, do you want me to bring Emily the Criminal with me too?
Yeah, bring it with you.
I was going to bring those old football games, which I still am holding you to watch. But if you want me to bring Emily the Criminal, I can as well. I've got it on Blu-ray.
Retro says he invades Puerto Rico 5 times a week. Unfortunately, not tonight. He's married to a Puerto Rican. Look at this guy. I mean, 5 times a week. Yeah, bring it with you. We'll check it out. We got a lot. Dan and I are going to spend Saturday. Besides doing our last show together, we're going to spend the time looking at what are the football games you're bringing with you.
I told you when I just gotten home, the day after the last trip and the fiasco that manifested within that, I got home and I was just so down as a product of all these things that occurred. And I'd gotten a color version of Super Bowl IV, which again, to show you how rare this is, NFL Plus, you're familiar with the app NFL Plus. Sure. Before the season started, they had some old football games on NFL Plus. And even the NFL's version of Super Bowl IV that they had on there was also the black and white version. So the NFL was still rocking the black and white version. I've got the fucking color now. So I was going to show you that. And then I was just telling you like how fucking great the pregame shows used to be on these games. They weren't trying to entertain you. They were geared toward NFL fans. Like the 2 pregame shows preceding Super Bowl 16 and 17. It's like the best pregame football I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's so different from anything you would see today. And one's with CBS and one's with NBC. So I was going to bring those just to show you those pregames, which you saw yourself 40 some years ago, but that was a long time ago. So I was hoping to show you Super Bowl IV because again, I was sitting there like going through the motions trying to watch it and felt like a zombie because I was so upset of everything that happened from the time I left last time. So anyway, I was hoping to watch some old football with you because nobody else gives a fuck. Well, I got to figure out I'm going to sleep somehow though, because I have to leave for the airport at like 3:30 in the morning because you got to be there an hour before your flight. I got to leave at 6 a.m. So it's just like, fuck, at some point I got to sleep that day too, but
fucking A. Well, you can sleep while I watch the game.
Watching TV with you all day though,
You'll fall asleep watching the game. I know you will.
I don't want to though.
Are you guys interested in watching the new Avatar movie? It's a 4-hour.
I never watched the first one.
Really?
That first one was really good.
It's just not my genre. It's not my genre. It feels like you come to my house and watch Avatar and Harry Potter Part 4. Just like
You don't want to watch it for the visual effects and the visual being immersed in that world that James Cameron has created.
It's a little too, like I said, Star Wars-ish. That genre, like it's just I'm not into. Like I love Total Recall, love the Terminator, things that can be sci-fi but also somewhat horror movie to some degree. Like this is like sci-fi and like I've never got any pussy and I've got a lightsaber, like to me kind of movie. Maybe I'm wrong, but I would watch it for a woman or something, But until someone's like, "Oh, dude, you got to watch Avatar with me," then I'm probably not going to watch it.
Well, I'm only interested in it because it is Cameron, who I think is a super sensational filmmaker. Even when he's doing sellout movies, I think the first Avatar was a sellout, and he's still a one of the great filmmakers of our time and of all time. And so, from that perspective, I'm interested in taking a look at it. one movie from a fantastic filmmaker that I saw recently is The Fabelmans. Have you guys seen that or heard about it?
No.
I heard, is that Tom Hanks? Is that Tom Hanks?
No, it's not Tom Hanks. This is the Steven Spielberg movie that is based on his life.
Okay.
The Fabelmans. And so if you know the story about Spielberg and how he got into filmmaking, he was a boy genius with the camera. And some of the problems that he had growing up with his mother being unfaithful, with his father not supporting his dream to be a filmmaker, almost meant that Steven Spielberg almost did not become a filmmaker. His father was wanted him to be, like an engineer, like he was. His father was a big cat with IBM, and his mom, who was a glorious, free-spirited woman she's an artist, and she's inspired him to pick up the camera and make movies and stuff. It's a great, great story, very much based on his own personal life. If you love the movies, this is one you have to watch. It does get a little clunky in the second hour. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes or so, but it's definitely worth watching if you're a Spielberg fan, and if you love the movies. I highly, highly recommend it. And that was Seth Rogen, who is in the movie as part of the cast. Everyone else, Michelle Phillips, Paul Danko, I believe, is the father. Judd Hirsch is in the movie. All do a fantastic, fantastic job. So
I've got a spin-off thing to tell you about. So Michelle Williams is in this, and you said Seth Rogen.
Right.
They're in a tremendous film from 2011, I think, and it shows Sarah Silverman's bush in it as well. But it's called Take This Waltz. Take This Waltz, which is, what's the guy's name? That older guy who's dead now. All of his songs are kind of spoken. It's not like he's really singing. But
Leonard Cohen.
Yeah. It's named from a Leonard Cohen song called Take This Waltz. But Michelle Williams is dating Seth Rogen in the movie and is having an affair with the neighbor because she's bored of Seth's sex. And by the time she starts doing all these things, the wild neighbor, doing threesomes, eating pussy and all this shit, but she gets bored of him too. So then she tries to go back to Seth. I don't want to spoil anymore, but it's a drama, man. It's called Take This Waltz. You see Michelle Williams' bush in it too. But Sarah's she plays Seth Rogen's brother in the film.
So on the 4 bushes scale, what would you rate the movie?
The movie's good, man. The movie's very good. The reason I brought it up, other than that they played in the same movie together before, is I know I'm going to take some heat for this. Off the top of my head, I can tell you one Steven Spielberg movie that I liked, and that was Jaws. I can't think of any others that I liked.
Classic. I can watch that over and over again.
I hated E.T. as a kid. My 2 movies, I told someone else this story the other day. 2 movies that my mom wanted me to watch as a kid and thought I would like that I hated were E.T. and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Yeah. Just complete, utter pieces of shit. Horrible films, I thought.
I'm not a E.T. fan, and I know that's considered probably his masterpiece of all the masterpieces he's done. But you have not seen Schindler's List?
Oh, I forgot that he did Schindler's List. Yeah, good film.
Okay. Lincoln.
I did not like Saving Private Ryan. I saw it at the theater. Saw it at the theater, and I thought, my God, I didn't leave. I didn't go piss or anything. I wanted to watch the whole film, and I felt like I needed to shave 6 different times in it because I was in this movie so long. It was 6 hours. It was too long. It rambled and meandered without much of a plot at various points. I didn't like it, but I did like.
There's no bush in it either, right?
But Schindler's List was obviously, a good film. I mean, it's a tough topic to digest. Obviously, the Holocaust, but I forgot that Spielberg did that.
What about Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park?
I never watched Jurassic Park. I liked that one Indiana Jones film, The Temple of Doom, when I was a kid.
Mhm.
I didn't like any of the others that I saw. I watched the first one and third one, but I didn't like them.
Short
Yeah,
Round
first one's a classic.
is in the little actor who played Short Round in Temple of Doom has got a movie out right now. Everything Everywhere All at Once. It was really
Oh,
good.
I didn't know that. That kid's still alive then? Good.
Yeah, he's the
actually,
husband to Michelle Yeoh in that movie. You'll have to see it. It's really great.
right. He took time
I
off
watched
from
that on the
acting and
airplane.
came back, and I think that was his
Yeah.
first movie on his return. So let's
Yeah.
see other Spielberg movies. The Minority Report with Tom Cruise. You ever see that
That
one?
was great.
Yeah, it was okay. I didn't hate it, but I
That
didn't
was
love it.
good, man.
Colin
Catch Me
Farrell
If
was
You
also in
Can?
it.
Catch Me If You
Yeah,
Can?
maybe I should give him more credit. That's the DiCaprio, Tom Hanks one.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't love
That
it.
was the
I
second
was becoming a DiCaprio fan by that point. Because he's going to get into his zone there for a while and making really, really good movies right after this.
Yeah.
Mhm. Color Purple.
Oh, The Color Purple is really, really tough to watch. Danny Glover just beat the dog shit out of Whoopi Goldberg. But I didn't even remember that was a Spielberg film. I saw that when it was fairly new, probably around 86. Watched that as a kid, just watching her get the shit beaten out of her. And Oprah was in it. I remember that's a tough movie I don't want to watch it again. It's no,
Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
didn't see it.
What?
Isn't that an alien film?
Yes, it is.
I don't give a fuck about alien films.
Do you believe that there are aliens out there, Dan?
No,
No.
not in the traditional sense of like people have been abducted and things like that. No. Do I think the little green men have abducted people? No. But do I think it's possible there's life forms in other galaxies? Yes. But do I think that we've seen them here on Earth? No.
What about you, Tooch? You believe in extraterrestrial beings?
I think it's certainly possible. It'd be naive to think it wasn't, but without evidence, I find things hard to believe.
I told you this before, Aldo. A couple of seasons back on American Horror Story, they had a guy playing Nixon, a guy playing Eisenhower, a guy playing Kennedy. Within the context of that story, the conspiracy theory that alien people believe is that they landed in New Mexico and Roswell. You're familiar with that, right?
Absolutely.
In the context of that American Horror Story, that really happened, and all of our technology comes from aliens, and that Eisenhower signed an agreement with them, allowing them to abduct 250 Americans a year to do tests on them because they're trying to figure out a way to survive, their species to evolve. And as a result, they give us technology. Like early on in the season, they have like a little phone in their hand. I mean, clearly supposed to be an iPhone. He's like, at some point, this will be your way of life. Your whole life will be connected to this right here. And like Nixon's like, bullshit. But we can't give the technology to the Russians, So they make this agreement. All of our technology, even the microwave, comes from the aliens.
Wow. What was that in?
American Horror Story, season
American
10.
Horror Story. Nice.
Yeah, the guys playing Eisenhower and Nixon are fucking incredible. They're really, really on point. Like the guy playing Nixon on that was way better than Anthony Hopkins. And I love that movie that Oliver Stone did called Nixon, but Anthony Hopkins was not very good as Nixon.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? You saw that movie, right?
No.
I thought you saw the Oliver Stone film with James Woods played Haldeman.
Yeah,
Anthony,
I did, but frankly, I don't remember it very well. I saw it in the theater when it was first released, and I think I fell asleep during that one.
It's a great film, but Anthony Hopkins wasn't very good as Nixon, I didn't think. I mean, he wasn't bad, but
I thought he was awful. It's like, why hire him to be Nixon? I mean, come on. There's got to be tons of American actors. Not that I'm xenophobic about British actors playing American presidents, but it just, to me, I thought it was bad casting. So I saw the movie. I think I was asleep like 15, 20 minutes into it and woke up, when fucking Nixon is crying over the paintings on the White House.
you should really, really go back, and that should be one you, in my opinion, that you give a second chance to.
I will.
That's a phenomenal film. And you like politics, so it's great.
I love politics, and I love Oliver Stone. I love his movies. I was a little bored by that one, but I was smoking a lot of dope back then. So
that's what I'm saying is Oliver Stone obviously is not someone that like really likes Nixon, as you can tell, as you would think, but it's still really fair within the context of the movie. And I think he did a tremendous job with it. I thought it was great. 3+ hours of brilliance.
3+ hours.
Well,
That's
so
why
was JFK. JFK was great too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love JFK. One of my
JFK
favorites.
is awesome movie.
All right, so here's another one that I saw that I want to share with you guys. It is named. This is on your recommendation, Dan Aguirre. Amsterdam.
Yeah, it was good, wasn't it? Did you like it?
Well, why don't you tell people about the plot first, and then I'll tell you my reaction to the film.
The plot. Well, I don't know if I can even tell you what the plot is.
It's so fucking convoluted. It's like, what the fuck? How many subplots are we gonna have in this goddamn film?
Early in the film, what's the guy? Christian Bale and Denzel Washington's son, John David Washington, and Margot Robbie meet during the times of World War I and become like a trio. And eventually, I don't know how to tell you the plot. At the end of it, it's basically a fascist plot to overtake the government. And they want to take Robert De Niro's playing a general that could be akin to what was that general's name that was over the nuclear when the bomb was coming out? There was this real hard right winger that when we were about to drop the bomb on Russia, I can't think. It kind of gives you that feel of that's who they think he is, but De Niro's character actually is left wing in the film and not a hardliner the way they want him to be. And so he doesn't go along with the fascist plot to overtake the government, but it's good in between. Like John David Washington's character, obviously he's Denzel's son, he's black, and Margot Robbie's white, and they're leaving the country at the end of the film. The line that got me the most, Christian Bale, you could hear him thinking in his head. He didn't say it aloud. He said something to the effect of, "I'm not going to leave my country, but I'm going to be here for when my country's ready to have my friend back." You know, he's just saying, I'm fucking it up, but they were an interracial couple.
You really are.
They're an interracial couple, and he makes a point that even though he's a war hero, the country's not ready to accept them in America as an interracial couple. So he says something poignant about, "I'm not leaving my country, but when they get back here, I'll make my country accept them as a couple," or something. You know, it's very good at the time. It's very, very touching because he's right in that era. I mean, hell, even now in some cases it's controversial, but definitely then. So,
right,
but I watched it in the middle of the night. You're letting me drown here.
I am. Well, because I wanted to make the point. See, that's how I felt about the movie. It was so fucking convoluted. It's hard to talk about it, but here's the thing, because I've always thought that there should be a movie made about this story. This is based on a true story. There was really a general by the name of Smedley. They show his picture at the end during the credits. The real general that the Robert De Niro character was based on, and there were a bunch of very rich, hard right people who wanted to overthrow Franklin Delano Roosevelt's government, and they were trying to galvanize infantry guys, and they were using this Colonel Smedley, the Robert De Niro character in the movie. They were using him to try to get all these veterans to do an overthrow of the U.S. government. I read the book maybe 15, 20 years ago about the secret plot, something that's rarely talked about in American history. And I fell in love with the story, and I said, this is a fucking movie. And so finally, okay, there's the movie. David O. Russell is doing it, a director that I respect. He's got a fantastic cast, and the movie is just going all over the fucking place. This is one time where I wish I was the Hollywood studio and I would have walked in and said, "David, okay, go home and feed the cats. I'm going to fucking cut your movie to 1 hour and 50 minutes long, and I'm going to make this fucking story sing and take out all of this extraneous bullshit." You know, there's too many subplots, too much going on, too much backstory and stuff. The story is about this coup attempt. Should have focused on that. That would have made it a great movie.
But you were entertained, though.
I was entertained. I definitely was entertained because David O. Russell is such a good fucking director. The cast is fantastic. Every fucking performance in this cast is absolutely great. And the shooting style is fantastic as well. I mean, those two characters, Mike Shannon and the Michael Myers, they play these two goofballs. And you know when Mike Myers plays in movies now, Michael Myers, the Wayne's
From Wayne's
World guy.
World at SNL and Austin Powers.
Yes, and now he's like made a profession out of being these English characters. You know,
He did that in Tarantino's movie. What was it?
Inglorious Bastards.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of cool stuff on there. You know, maybe if it would have been a mini series, a 3-4 part mini series, it would have worked better for me. But as a feature film, once you get into a lot of complicated subplots, you gotta treat that stuff very carefully, or not you lose the audience. And I was one of those people that started getting a little frustrated by the time the second hour started. I was like, man, I wish they would have gotten to this part of the movie earlier, because this is the real story here.
Chris Rock was in it too.
Who?
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock, very small role.
But he's in it though.
Yes, it's a great fucking cast, and I would recommend that you all see that. By the way, Joseph says that Rachel Maddow is doing a podcast on this same plot too, called Ultra. It's excellent, and I've heard that, Joseph, and it's like the #1 podcast in the nation, has been for a while. So lots of people that I respect are saying this is a fucking great podcast. So I'm definitely gonna listen to that, maybe on my way back from Vegas on the plane. So looking forward to that. All right, another movie that I saw, I want you guys to react to. And I think you saw it, Dan Aguirre, because I recommended it to you, The Fallout.
Which one was The Fallout?
The Fallout is the story of, let me call this up to remind myself. It is the cast. What the fucking cast on this movie? Hold on a second. It's Jenna Ortega, the little girl that plays Wednesday Addams, Maddie Ziegler. It starts off that these two high school kids are in the washroom together. They don't know each other. Maddie Ziegler plays this very popular girl.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see this. I do want to see this. You sent me the trailer of this. Yeah, this looks excellent.
Yes, and so Jenny Ortega is this like 15, 16-year-old girl. They're both in the washroom, and all of a sudden, bang, 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 bang. There's a fucking killer in the school. And they hide in one of the washroom stalls. I won't say anything else about the movie, but it's definitely worth watching.
It's dealing with their trauma, obviously, from the trailer.
Yes, exactly.
Now, how can I watch this? I thought it was about to come to the theater. I didn't realize I could watch it already.
Yeah, because I saw it. Where the fuck did I see it?
Is it on HBO?
HBO Max, yes.
Yeah, I'll try to watch that tonight at work if we're not too busy then.
Cool. Retro says that
movie you told me about in the theater with the guy with the X-ray eyes. I did watch that one.
What'd you think of that?
I mean, I wouldn't say it was 5 stars, but it was okay, especially if you put it in the context of when it was made.
Yes. So, how did we get on that topic? You asked me what was the
asking you the first movie you saw in the theater as a kid.
Right. So back when I was a kid, people walked in the middle of the movie all the fucking time. That was the thing back there. In fact, there were ad campaigns saying for Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho movie, he actually told the movie theaters, don't let anyone in the middle of the movie. That became their advertising campaign because it was a regular thing. You know, the movie started an hour ago and people were sitting down right in fucking front of you. Well, my mom takes me and my brother to a movie, and we walk in the last 2 minutes of a movie named The Man with the X-Ray Eyes. And so I sit down, I'm a 5-year-old kid, and then Ray Milland, who plays the man with the X-Ray eyes, takes off these big old thick sunglasses because the sunlight would just burn his eyes. He takes it off and reveals his X-ray eyes, and I'm like a little kid going, oh no, get me the fuck out of here. And so that was my experience in movie theaters for the very first time. Tooch, what was your first movie in a movie theater?
I think it was The Gnome Mobile with Sean Connery. It's like a Disney movie.
Oh, Sean Connery was in a Disney movie?
Yeah, it's like his first movie or something. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
And Dan Aguirre, what was yours?
Well, when I was a kid, we used to go to a drive-in theater frequently that was still open close to our home in the early 80s, but I don't recall those experiences very much, other than I know I saw Richard Pryor in The Toy at that theater, where he's like this white kid's best friend or whatever, like Jackie Gleason, I think, is in it. It's not a great movie, but I saw that, but I don't really remember so much. The first that I can remember being in a theater, not in your car, I was 6 in 1987. I hadn't turned 7 yet. And my dad was at the VA hospital, like getting shock treatment or something. And no, I'm not trying to make light of that, but as a family, we went out to eat and went to this movie trying to kill time before we went to go get him. And we watched Hellraiser in the theater. So I was, again, 6. My first experience in theater was fucking Hellraiser, though.
Scary as hell.
No shit.
But still, the movie that scared me, because again, we didn't have a lot of TV options in the early 80s growing up in West Virginia. We had like 15 channels, but I did have HBO and ESPN, which was like, saved my life. But we rented movies a lot because we had a 7-Eleven like a mile from our house that rented VHS tapes. So we constantly were renting movies and watching them. And the movie that scared me to this day, it makes me feel anxiety when I was watching it. The only movie as a kid, again, I was watching Nightmare on Elm Street. I saw The Exorcist at like 6. None of these movies scared me, but Cujo fucked me up because in my head, I knew Michael Myers or Freddy or Jason weren't real, but that goddamn dog could be outside my door.
That's right.
I saw that shit at 4. I saw Cujo at 4. It was terrifying.
Yeah, it was a good sex scene in that. So do you remember the sex scene?
When she's having the affair?
Yeah.
She's fucking that guy that looks like the Bounty paper towel guy. Yeah, it's too bad the dog didn't kill him. Because the dog killed a bunch of people in that fucking film, Yeah,
it's a good film. And my favorite moment in that film is when there's an attack on the dog and they place the camera right in the middle of the car because they're hiding in the car. They can't get out of the car. As soon as they make some attempt to open the car door, the dog is fucking there and ready to pounce on them. And so they place the camera after one of the dog attacks. They place the camera in the middle of the car. And then the kid in the background is screaming. The mom in the front seat, she's crying and so forth, and the camera starts doing 360s, and it keeps panning around. 360, it gets faster, and it gets faster, and it gets faster, and it gets faster. Just going fucking crazy, man. That movie was really well done, and when I saw it, I was a teenager, and I loved it. I fucking loved it. At the time, I thought that was the best Stephen King movie because the first few Stephen King movies were big flops. They just nobody could tell his stories
about
well.
The Shining, though.
Well, The Shining was after Cujo, well after Cujo. I want to say
Cujo was 83,
and so The Shining was 86.
The Shining's 80.
Really, it was before. Wow.
They filmed The Shining in 79, and it was released in 80. Not to contradict you, I'm sorry.
No,
I saw the Cujo when it came out on VHS tape in like 84 as a family. Yeah, that's the name of the kid. He was in Who's the Boss. That's right. He's actually homosexual in real life. Not that means
not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, I just remember that's just a fun fact, from it. Yeah. But yeah, I saw Cujo in like when it was new on VHS tape. So I'm saying I was 4 years old when we watched it, and that's why it fucked me up. The Shining was before that.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, I didn't remember that, but yeah, but there were those first few King movies that were, based on his books, critically at least, they were not well received. Somebody, I think it was Mo Bierman, said that he had on, what was it? What movie? It was a Hitchcock movie, Dial M for Murder. It was on Dial M for Murder on the background earlier. One of the things that was cool about that movie is that Hitchcock filmed that movie for 3D because at the time that movie was being made, the 3D craze was underway. But by the time they got into post-production and ready to make the 3D prints, the whole 3D craze died off. And so the studio said, let's not go through the expense of making these 3D prints. Let's just run it flat. And as a college student, I got to see a 3D print of Dial M for Murder, and it was fucking fantastic. Let me take you to a scene where, if you know the story, it's about a husband who is trying to get his wife murdered. And so there's a scene where the woman, played by Grace Kelly, is in her apartment, and the murderer comes up behind her and starts to choke her, and she kind of has her back to the camera, and there's some scissors in the foreground, and she starts reaching for the scissors so that she can stab this guy in the back. And it takes a while for her to finally get the scissors, but it's like in 3D, it felt like the scissors were in your lap and you're reaching for them and like want to hand it to her. It was a brilliantly shot scene for 3D, and unfortunately the flat version of it, the 2D version, doesn't quite feel as impactful, but that was one of Hitchcock's excellent movies. You ever see it, Tooch? Dial M for Murder?
I haven't. I don't think I have. I mean, yeah, I don't think I have. I know.
Are you a Hitchcock fan?
Yeah. Love. I've seen a lot of them. Like North by Northwest, The Birds, Vertigo.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You're not a fan, right?
Rear Window.
I like North by Northwest. I did dig that. It was very much like you can tell James Bond kind of came from that. I think, sort of gave birth to James Bond movies. But I thought it was excellent. But I can't dig the 3D. 3D movies hurt my eyes. It pains my eyes to watch a 3D film.
When was the last time you saw one?
One of the Saw films in like 2008 or 9. I saw at the theater with the glasses on and shit. I ended up taking the glasses off. It ruined the whole experience. I was like, I just wish I'd have saw this in 2D.
So Chrome will just quit on me, just all of a sudden evaporate.
You and Chrome just do not get along.
I don't know what's going on.
Retro says that I get confused Dial M Murder for Dial S&M for a good time.
One more thing about Cujo real quick, if you don't mind me going back. My grandmother was one of these ladies that would read books incessantly, could read a whole novel within a day. And I'm a much slower reader than that, because I want to read the same page over and over and make sure I ingest it correctly. But she was a speed reader, man. And we were watching that Cujo again. I was a kid, and she had all the Stephen King books. And she was so pissed off. She's like, this ruins the whole movie. This is bullshit. When the kid, he dies in the book, according to my grandma. I never read the book. But in the film, he's not breathing for like 5 minutes, and then suddenly he's okay. She's like, this is bullshit. The kid dies. This ruins the whole movie. This isn't realistic. She was sitting there yelling about the kid not dying.
See, that's interesting. I took a college course on that. Is what responsibility does the filmmaker have to the author when he's making a movie based on the author's book? And so the consensus in the class is it's a totally different medium, and so the book is the book. If you're going to make a movie based on a book, you have no obligation at all to the filmmaker to make it like the book, because the book is a book. That's a different medium. Make the best movie inspired by that book that you want and that you can do. And so I disagree with your grandma.
This conversation is interesting because I think we've talked about this on air before, but Quentin Tarantino and Oliver Stone hate each other because Tarantino sold his screenplay of Natural Born Killers to Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone said the initial screenplay was violence to be violence. So he twisted it around to where it was these kids going through childhood trauma, and he's like, the media glorifies things like this, like Lorena Bobbitt and OJ and the Menendez brothers and Tanya Harding. So the media would make them stars. So it's sort of like a jab at the media. It's sort of, satire.
Yeah.
And for some reason it rubs Quentin Tarantino the wrong way. But Oliver Stone said, I bought your screenplay, so it's my movie now. And these two guys still hate each other to this day. Like Oliver Stone was like shitting on Pulp Fiction, which I love Pulp Fiction too. And I heard Tarantino claim that he watched Natural Born Killers at the theater, and he says that even Juliette Lewis, who was allegedly with him, hated the film when they walked out of it. And she said it was bullshit.
Wow. Yeah, that is the acting debut. Is that before or after the porn career? That was before the porn career, right? Yeah. Weren't you in the porn parody of Natural Born Killers too?
I wish.
natural semen in her belly.
Born sodomizers.
There you go. That's better. Zach put together a list of Stephen King movies. Misery, absolutely excellent movie. You saw that? Anybody disagree that it's a great movie?
I think it's okay. I like
Which
The Dead
one?
Zone a lot more than Misery.
Misery was great.
Yeah, the Christopher Walken film
Dead
is
Zone was great.
outstanding.
Love it. Love the way it's a Cronenberg movie. Love the way it was shot. Love the storytelling. Love the climactic scene with Martin Sheen blowing his. I won't say anything else. For those who haven't seen it, Cujo. We've talked about Carrie. That's a movie that some people love it and some people hate it. What do you guys say?
I like the remake and the original. I like the De Palma version better, but they did a remake with God. What's the lady's name? She played. You remember Silence of the Lambs? In Hannibal, she played Claire Reese instead of Jodie Foster. She's got long red hair.
Claire. Oh, you're talking about Maureen O'Connell?
She's a big actress herself.
Yeah.
What's her name, man?
She's in
Boogie Nights. She's in Boogie Nights for one.
I was just going to say that, yeah. So, but I don't remember her name, but she's a great
I gotta look it up. But yeah, she played Carrie's mom in the remake. Yeah, I thought they were both good. You know how De Palma's big thing, at least in most of the movies I've seen, he does it in a lot of his films where he splits the screen and kind of shows like you and Tooch right now. But he does that within the context of the film to show like tension and stuff. So the way when everything goes down at the prom in the 76 version with the split screen and shit, I think is really cool and better than the new one. Julianne Moore is her name.
That's her. Excellent actress.
Yeah, she's good in her own merit. But the 13 version was pretty good too for a remake, but the 76 version's better in my opinion.
I'll have to check it out. Christine was an excellent movie with Keith Gordon in the lead role.
I just didn't like the ending. Like he suddenly just kind of fell out of the car and he was dead. It was sort of anticlimactic, but I still liked the movie though.
I agree with you. Stand By Me, another excellent
good
film
movie.
Directed by Carl Reiner. Dan Aguirre has not Dan
Carl Reiner or Rob Reiner? It was Rob Reiner though, right?
Rob Reiner, the younger one. I get them fucked up. Dan Aguirre has still not seen Shawshank.
Oh, what an all-time classic.
Didn't watch The Green Mile either.
That was also really good. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like a lot of Tom Hanks' serious films, like I guess, and that I just kept seeing that guy point at Tom Hanks in the trailer. I was like, this doesn't look like something I want to watch.
Well, The Green Mile is okay. It's not great. Shawshank is top 10 movie of all time.
It sounds like a Western to me.
But it's not. It's a jail.
All right, maybe I would watch it. I'm just saying I've never seen it though. I've never watched The Stand either. I saw the TV movie. I didn't watch it.
I saw the original TV series back in the 70s, 80s. I don't know when it was, but I have not seen anything recent on The Stand. But I would. We need a real adaptation of Dark Tower.
There was wasn't there a recent one? It was awful. The recent one.
Yeah, that's what Zach is saying.
The
Stand,
yeah. I didn't get into it, but he's leaving off The Mist. That was a great movie.
The Mist.
Stephen King with
one
Thomas
of the most
Jane.
Controversial endings in movie history.
Yeah,
I didn't see that one either.
They changed the surprise ending from the book. You know, with if that's Frank Darabont who did The Walking Dead, but The Mist, he changed the ending a little bit, like carried the book ending a little bit farther.
Okay.
Ending.
A shit film that Stephen King endorsed and said it was great was that made-for-TV version of The Shining in like 1997. Yeah. Oh, it was so bad. It was like Rebecca De Mornay.
He hates the Kubrick movie, but he loved the TV movie.
The TV movie is Rebecca De Mornay, who I loved in Risky Business. She's playing Shelley Duvall's character, and I hated how because like Shelley Duvall does such a great job of being incredibly terrified of Jack Nicholson, and she should be.
Yeah,
she's a 102-pound woman, and he's basically possessed by ghosts to want to kill her. And why wouldn't she be afraid? But by the time the next Shining thing comes out, they're like, oh, this is the 90s, and 90s women they stand up to domestic violence. So it's like she's like taunting Nicholson's character, who was played by the fucker from that show Wings, if you remember.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It was one of the guys from Wings.
It just sucks so badly. And like, instead of the axe, he has a pool cue or something, or a croquet thing, whatever you hit croquet balls with. It just sucks so horribly. Someone just mentioned Someone mentioned Dr. Sleep. I've said this 1,000. Dr. Sleep is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah,
like 4
movie.
stars.
Yeah.
Great. Fantastic.
I agree. It was very good.
Yeah.
By the way, Omar Barrios says that the phones must be listening to him because he's seen clips of Jim Everett flipping Rome's desk.
Oh my God. That was right when ESPN2 came into existence, and the talk show was called Talk 2, which was a pun, but still with the number 2. And I watched that the day it aired the first time. It was just unfucking believable. Even at the time, my friends were saying that, like, Everett, that must have been staged with he and Jim Rome, but from all indications, it wasn't.
It was not. It was not staged. So, Omar Barrios, we're going to do you a favor. We're going to start talking about porn movies so that can show up on your Facebook news feed.
Hey, Omar, gay porn. Gay porn.
Man, it takes it up the ass.
My first cock in my mouth, in my ass. I love jizz.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, of course not.
You ever watch any gay porn, Dan, in all your sexual?
You know me. I dig gay porn. Yeah. No, I'm not really. No, if you consider lesbian porn, if you consider that gay porn, I kind of dig that, especially in my youth. For some reason, in my youth, I really liked lesbian porn more than. It's so weird. As I've gotten older, I think I've watched porn when I was young as like a voyeur, like it was like I was watching someone else. But as I got older, I started like the man-woman porn more because I was pretending I was the guy. But when I was young, I just watched it like it was 2 women that I hadn't seen, that I didn't know. So I liked a lot of lesbian porn early on, but now I kind of watch it from the POV perspective as a guy.
One of the great Hollywood lesbian scenes is from the movie Bound with Gina Gershon and Jennifer
Tilly.
Yeah. Oh, that scene is so fucking hot. I remember watching it in the theater and getting an erection, and every time it's on now, I stop to hopefully catch that scene again. It is so fucking hot.
Did you see the movie? Where I think you did. I watched it recently. I didn't I watched it in 22. Like I missed it somehow and it was new. Where Matthew McConaughey's making her suck a chicken wing. Like he's holding it like it's his dick.
Joe.
Yeah, Killer Joe.
Killer Joe. Yes.
It's directed by William Friedkin.
That's right.
And he's making her blow a piece of chicken, which sounds ridiculous, but he's got it down like it's his dick, and he's making her spit on it and choke on it. It's a really controversial scene,
Very, and I found it a tough movie to sit through, but rewarding at the end. I said, you know what, it wasn't that bad. Friedkin is a fantastic filmmaker, even though some of his movies don't quite work sometimes. But definitely The French Connection and The Exorcist are 2 of his best.
And the one with Pacino that everybody
Live
hates.
and Die in L.A. too.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Cruising.
I liked Cruising. I liked it. I think maybe it should have been a 2-hour movie instead of like hour and 40. Like it felt abruptly ending. The ending felt too like rushed. But I guess I think I said this before. It's an implication that Pacino was the killer, right?
Nomad.
Yes. Nomad says that the VR virtual reality porn thing is going to turn Dan Aguirre into a Rick.
No. I like women better, just like right there with my own dick. But isn't it the implication that Pacino's the murderer on Cruising?
Yes, that is
because it's not closed ended. It's an open ended thing. Like you kind of have to interpret it for yourself.
That was my interpretation of it. I remember seeing that movie at the Carnegie Theater on Rush Street in downtown and being surrounded by gay men, and I think I went home with one of them that night. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, did you see that Scorsese's making a film that's supposed to drop this year I think with DiCaprio and De Niro, but it's a Western.
Yeah. Which I'm dying. I love Scorsese. I'll see anything that he's done, although I have missed a couple of movies, like The Last Temptation of Christ. I have it on disc.
You never saw it?
Still have not seen it.
That was great.
Is it?
Yeah, it's killer.
Last Temptation of Christ.
It's very interesting.
When Jesus fucking passes away, that's my favorite part.
No, it's different, man. It's like you have to see it. That's Martin Scorsese, man. His take on it. What if poses a lot of questions.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that or Mel Gibson's film either.
Yeah, I bought that. I don't know why I bought it. It's from what I've heard, it's 2 hours of just crucifixion scenes of really
harsh.
nasty. Yeah, so I don't know why.
And that's when Mel Gibson turned from Mel Gibson, the cool dude from Lethal Weapon, to anti-Semite crazy out of his fucking mind. Mel Gibson.
Yeah, apparently his dad infused all these thoughts about Christianity and anti-Semitism. So and it's too bad because Mel Gibson has made some really outstanding movies. The Mad Max movies.
I did not like that. I did not like Mad Max. I know.
Yeah,
Mad Max had no fucking plot. I couldn't understand the accent. I just didn't like it. I did see that one with Tina Turner as a kid. I didn't like it either.
That one
Beyond
was
Thunderdome. The first one from 79 I watched in 2020 and had never watched it. I hated it.
Yeah, that one is dated. The follow-up, The Road Warrior, is an outstanding
I didn't see that one.
fucking
Yeah, that's
picture.
great.
That's the one of all the Mad Max movies. That's the one to watch.
Road Warrior is great.
The last version of the Mad Max, Mel Gibson wasn't in it, but
Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron.
Yes,
Theron.
that is a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah,
I am
totally.
telling you.
You haven't seen Fury Road, Dan?
What is it?
Fury Road.
I didn't see it.
You have to see that, man. It's brilliant. The filmmaking, the car stunts, everything, the story, it was really great, man.
I was fucking blown away. I saw it in the theater and I said, holy fucking
Some of those
shit.
stunts are fucking amazing.
Fucking amazing. Holy cow, that is a movie.
Man.
Yeah,
That-
if you
the
like
last
action
movie-
movies.
The last movie that I think we talked about this on air, unfortunately, I don't want to keep repeating. The last movie that I watched, and it was recently where I felt quote unquote blown away. It was like, wow, how did I miss this? Was that one with Ray Liotta and Jeff Daniels from 86?
Something
What was
Wild.
it called? Yeah, Something Wild. It really
Jonathan
was
Demme.
Something Wild.
Yeah.
Great fucking film. I don't know how I missed that.
Classic.
Yeah. An outstanding
Fantastic.
soundtrack. Ray Liotta plays a crazed killer who is trying to get his girlfriend back, played by Melanie Griffith, very sexy back then. Jeff Daniels plays the kind of idiot guy who is trying to fight for her. It's really very well done. Again, with an outstanding soundtrack. Really good movie.
Yeah, it was fantastic. That's the last time I said, wow, I was kind of blown away by something.
Zach Sullivan says, Dan, stop watching depressing old Bears games and watch the Mad Max movies. I love it.
If Shane were here from 5 years ago, if this is 100 proof, that would be the tweet of the night. Because I know we did the dumb tweets, but that's a good one. Zach Sullivan, that's the good one. That's the good one.
That is a good one.
Give this man a prize.
Give him a prize.
The filmmaker for Mad Max movies was George Miller, the Australian director.
Yes, he's great. And let me tell you something about George Miller. And I told this to Dan Aguirre before, and he was like, what? He made the first two Porky's movies, which are fucking fantastic. Especially the second one. Porky goes to the big city or whatever it's called. I know
Porky's
it sounds weird.
The Next Day was the next one.
Okay, I know it sounds stupid. A movie about a fucking pig and stuff, but I'm telling you, this guy George Miller, he is a cinematic genius. He knows how to tell a story.
Pig in the City? Is that this movie?
Babe Pig in the City. That's what.
I thought you were talking about the early '80s Porky's movies.
No,
Porky's 2 and Porky's Revenge. I just had a conversation about this. I saw Porky's and Porky's Revenge. I never watched part 2 though.
No, Porky's is not cinematic
I
genius.
didn't watch Babe or Babe Pig in the City. I didn't watch those.
I forgot that was George Miller that did Babe.
Yes, the
Yeah.
guy.
You know,
is
another film that came out at the same time that I didn't watch because it just looked bad, like Babe Pig in the City, was The Indian in the Cupboard. I didn't watch that either. That came out at the same time. Or How to Make an American Quilt. These are some movies that just like, I don't want to watch those.
Zach, that's not true. Dog the Bounty Hunter is not the kid in the I refuse to believe that.
Yeah,
I refuse to believe. I think because it was shot in Australia, that's why I don't think that's true. But the likeness is there. No doubt
Did
about
Dan ever see The Notebook?
I have not, but I have it because my mom loved that and like kept telling me I needed to watch it. And in her memory, one day I'm going to watch The Notebook.
Because I was like, I was like, I don't want to watch this. This is gonna suck. I hadn't watched it. I was like, this is fun. I was like, got a little cry, you know. I was like, this is great, you know.
Yeah,
it's a good movie.
My wife had it on.
Rachel McAdams, man, is so hot.
That's the thing, you know. There are certain actresses and actors too, but certain actresses all of a sudden take a C movie to a B movie or a B movie to an A movie just because of their persona, because of their acting, and just because they're so goddamn great to look at. And Rachel McAdams is one of those actresses for me.
Gosh.
She does it every time. When she was in the second
cute.
season of True Detective,
I love that season. Nobody else likes it but me. I loved it.
That was a great season.
I liked it too, especially because of her.
Were good, really.
Yeah, Colin Farrell and Vince Vaughn were in it. It was phenomenal.
And Taylor Kitsch.
Yeah, that was a great season. Everyone shits on it, like the critics, and they're like, "Oh, season 3 got it back on track because 2 was so bad." I thought 2 was great.
2 was good, man.
Unfortunately, I got to go, to make this. I got to go to work, but not to make this last section about me. But I got to ask you again. You're still cool getting me at the airport, even though it's so early?
Hell yeah!
Because again, I leave 6 my time, which puts me at 8 my time, or 7:45, whatever. Your time, though. Wait a minute. Well, hold on. Let me get this. It's a 2-hour flight, so I'm supposed to land at 8 my time, but it's going to be like 7 your time.
So?
Well, that's early, man.
I pick up my wife earlier than that at the airport. That's not
okay.
Not a big
all right. Hopefully, I won't get lost in O'Hare trying to find you this time.
That would help. The last time he's at O'Hare, he's on United, which is always Terminal 1. All of a sudden, I'm picking him up at Terminal 3, but then he tells me, no, it's not Terminal 3, it's Terminal 2. So I'm fucking going around there.
When I get off the plane, I should just stay where I'm at and go downstairs, right?
Go to baggage claim.
Yes. And go straight downstairs.
Even though you don't have bags.
Right, exactly. So just
go
to
out
baggage.
one of the doors and tell Aldo which is A, B, C, D, E, F, or G. And Aldo will just zip up in front. You'll have to cross over the limo or bus lane and then wait on the little island for the cars.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I gotta go. John, the best wishes to your family. And Aldo, I can't wait to see you Saturday, and Nomad's listening, and I hope the other Dan is. I can't wait to work with you guys next week.
All right, brother.
All right, you all be well.
Aguirre. You too, man. Dan Aguirre, he is going to his other job at 911.
Mr. Shorty's dropped by.
There he
He's
is.
excited to be a part of the show.
I want to. What was I looking for here? Shit.
I'm under so much stress, Aldo, because my wife, went home, of course, again. But it's like,
tell people what happened.
I'm like, all the things that my wife does here, and I'm like, God damn it, I gotta do this too. It's like, I'm like Mr. Mom. My wife's mom passed away on New Year's Day. Man. So my mother-in-law, and really glad that we did go home and got to spend some quality time with her before she passed. And like I told you before I left, my wife thought it would be the last time, she saw her mom. So, and then we were thinking,
how old 70?
She just turned 77.
Yeah, still young.
So, yeah, and for a short time, we were like, my wife was like, well, I don't know if we can afford to go for me to go back. Like, yeah, you have to go back to your mom's funeral, Like, well, we can't all go back, of course, because that would be,
Yeah.
we were just there. The girl
Yeah,
that
right. Sure.
they would miss, and like I said, it's a super long. It's the better part of 3 days to get there. For the most part. So we went, and she'll be back on the 14th or 15th. But I'll tell you, like last night, she arranged everything and got ship of flying out of Omaha, which is about 2 hours from Des Moines. And I took her to the bus station really late at night. The Des Moines bus station. I'll tell you, I was a little scared leaving her there. I'm like, not the best crowd.
No, huh?
A little rough.
A lot of homeless people and drug addicts, maybe.
Just some rough characters, going to Chicago or Omaha, wherever they're going. And I put her bags in the bus. I'm like, just get on the bus and don't linger around the station. But
exactly.
Omaha to San Fran to Hong Kong, or San Fran to Taipei, Taipei to Hong Kong to Manila. So she's got quite a journey, but less stops on the way back. So I will. I'll pick her up in Omaha in a couple weeks.
Well, God bless your mother-in-law and your wife taking on that arduous trip to give her respects, and from all of us.
We just got back, Aldo. We got back 2 weeks ago.
Renewable says it. Greyhound equals salt of the earth, man. I've ridden in some Greyhounds too, man. When I came to Chicago, I was on Greyhound.
Omaha was rough too. The bus station in Omaha was a little rough too. I was like, next time maybe we'll just fly out of Des Moines to Omaha.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. So how's the gambling going? What happened yesterday with the football game? Not that it's important, but those people who bet on yesterday's Monday night football game, what happens with that?
You know what? It looks like DraftKings refunded me for the bets I placed on the game. I had the Bengals. Let me see. So, it looks like they refunded my money. So, but for a while I was like, man, they're not going to do it. What the heck, man? If they don't play this thing, what the hell? But yesterday, I got to say, yesterday was my first sweep. 8-0 yesterday. For VIP.
Wow, Tooch, that's awesome, brother.
Yeah, it looks like today I'll be 7-3, so 15-3 the past 2 days. So
that is awesome.
Yep.
Bellissimo's in the house. He says Tooch knows what the stocks are like in the ancient capital of Mercia at Tamworth Castle.
Can I tell the story?
Please.
So I went to visit Bellissimo, and I was picking up my wife to move her to the United States because she lived near Bellissimo. And George did a ton of stuff for us, man. He drove us everywhere, helped carry our bags, loaded his car with every single bag of 5-6 suitcases of my wife's, drove us, to the airport, all this stuff. He took me on a tour of his hometown. We went to his favorite chip shop. It was great, man. It was a blast. I had a blast. It used to be Tamworth was the capital of the United Kingdom at one time. Georgie. No, he did so much, man. It's not enough, but George is big and he's really strong. He was lifting these giant bags over his head. But,
how tall is George Bellissimo? 6'2"?
It's about 6'1", 6'2", I would say. 6 foot.
Yeah, he played defensive line, right? Didn't he play defensive line?
Yeah, he took me to Birmingham Blues soccer game. We had a blast. Yeah, he's about 6'1". Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
By the way, Nomad says that when last time he was at the Greyhound, somebody stole his hot wings when he was asleep, and he made the motherfucker stop the bus. Sounds like Nomad. That is good.
But yeah,
so
I'm scared to death. I got the 2 toddlers by myself for 12 days. I'm like, these kids. I'm afraid they're gonna murder me in my sleep, Aldo. They need everything. They're they're just like, I need this. Can you make this for me? Yeah.
By the way, have you seen any other films that you wanted to talk about?
You know who Walter Hill is?
Of course, the great Walter Hill.
Did 48 Hours, Warriors. He's got a new movie out. I I can't remember the name of the movie, unfortunately, but it's got Christoph Waltz and Willem Dafoe. It's a Western, and it's like made in the style of a classic 60s, 70s Western. It's really it's not the greatest movie, but it's fucking entertaining.
Dead for $1.
Dead for $1. Yep, I just saw that. My wife loves Western, so we watched that one. Emily the Criminal was another one that we just watched.
Before you move on from Walter Hill, let me also, you mentioned The Warriors. He also did 48 Hours.
So many great movies. Yeah.
In 1978, he did a great action film called The Driver, which was excellent. And then a movie that is underrated, and I would love for people to see this so that I can talk to them about it. It seems like nobody has seen this movie, and the title of it is Streets of Fire, which is a rock and roll drama. It's a classic story where this rock and roll singer is abducted by a gang, and her ex-boyfriend reluctantly goes on to save her. It's got great music, it's got great visuals, it's got over-the-top acting, which I think turned off some people, which is why it was a box office flop. But I fucking love the movie. Love it.
Yeah, it was a little bit outside his comfort zone, but I think Southern Comfort was his movie too, which is kind of like a rehash of Deliverance with soldiers in the bayous of Louisiana.
Yep. He was of that school with John Carpenter. Those guys came out around the same time, and they made some
Brian De Palma all around that time, 70s, 80s.
Yeah. Bellissimo has a good one, History of Violence. Is that Walter Hill or was that Cronenberg? I think it was Cronenberg.
I think it's Cronenberg. Yeah, he uses Viggo Mortensen in a lot of his movies.
Yep.
And
Zach, you're right.
History of Violence is great.
It's a fantastic movie. Highly recommended. And Zach is right that Streets of Fire is a bit like Eddie the Cruiser's type. In fact, it's the same actor that played Eddie, the lead singer in Eddie the Cruisers. It's the same actor in Streets of Fire, Michael Perry, I believe his name is. But check it out, and then we'll
Michael Perry. You're right. Yeah.
Perry, excuse me.
Ghosts of Mars is John Carpenter, also a good movie that Renewables got.
Yeah, that's one that I've got the disc and I've never put in.
Ice Cube.
Ice Cube is in there?
Ice Cube, yep. And I forgot who else is in that one.
Wow, Ghost. I've got so many fucking DVDs that are still in the fucking cellophane, man. I have not opened them up. A lot I've given away just because I know I'm probably never going to get to them. But
I gave out a free play tonight. It looks like that will win. It's the
what do you got?
Tampa Bay Lightning -1.5 versus the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks have lost against the puck line. This will be 13 in a row. They've lost by
That's a good bet.
But
that's a good bet.
I've been on the bandwagon for that one for a short while. Came in a little late, but I had that free play. And I didn't really talk to you guys about the game, Monday Night Football game last night and stuff. But
what'd you think?
My first thought is that the NFL took a little bit long to cancel the game. It was up to I thought it was great that the coaches got together and said, we're not playing this game. Send the players to the locker room, which was great. And the NFL offices and whoever is running the show there were unprepared for the kind of situation where a player possibly died on the field. And you think like all these years they'd have some sort of contingency plan just in case, because it is a dangerous game. I think that's definitely part of the appeal of football is the violence,
For sure.
And what should arise, what could and what should arise is some sort of modification of the equipment to protect the sternum chest area where, injury like that could happen again, to protect from that.
Well, I've done a lot of research into this too, Chin. So here's the deal. This is an anomaly. This is a 1 in a million thing that this would happen. Now, this does happen, particularly among young kids. You get hit by a baseball in Little League right there in that moment.
It happens in between the heartbeat.
Yes, exactly.
When the heartbeat
it's
contracts,
like a nano of a second. It's got to hit this one particular spot in a nano of a second where that heartbeat, it takes a little bounce. So it's highly unusual that this happens. And so I don't think that the NFL is to blame for this at all. In fact, they should take credit because they've got this emergency action program where medical officials, 1 hour before the game, they all introduce themselves to one another and to the officials, and they discuss, if this happens, I'm responsible for that. If that happens, my name is this, I'm responsible for that. So they've got the plan, and that plan might have saved this guy's life yesterday. Now, to the issue that you're talking about, that it took them an hour plus to cancel the game, you are absolutely right. And the announcer, Buck, said, they've told the players they got 5 minutes to warm up. Now the NFL is saying nobody said that. They're denying that information got to the ESPN booth. And today Joe Buck is saying, well, they're fucking bullshitting. We were told that through the referee who was in contact with they have a referee up in the booth to help them ascertain calls. And he was the one that was told the players have been given 5 minutes to warm up. And so they're sticking to that story. So there's a big controversy there. And I don't believe the NFL because I do believe it took them a while to decide to cancel the game. And you're absolutely right. It was the players and the coaches who made that decision. Yes.
And that was the right decision.
Absolutely.
With 100%. But the heart has to be compressed. So when it's hit, and it doesn't come out of that compression, it just kind of like, no more work. It disrupts the heartbeat, but it's a sad, and the young man is still a chance for him to come out of this. I understand.
Yes. What happens is that 24-hour period. So it's about a little over 24 hours now is huge to see, because they're now going to wean him off the ventilator. And so that's the key thing, because now they're going to test to see what his brain function is like. There is the possibility that he could live, but have some motor skill problems, memory problems, and so forth, because the question is how long was he deprived of oxygen? And if the longer you're deprived of oxygen, as most of us all know, the worse it is for the old noggin. So that's the next big hurdle for the young man. And Bellissimo says, like NFL, like any other major corporation, is tone deaf, passionless, and devoid of humanity. But it's a fucking great game. You're right, Bellissimo. It is a great game.
Yeah, it's my favorite sport, to watch and talk about and whatever. I love basketball as well. But football is just, it's something different about it. It's just classic game.
Yeah. And I was on the air with Nomad, and Nomad was visibly, although we can't see him, but you could hear it in his voice, he was really shook up by that and shook up by, I think that, some of the comments being made in social media and so forth, about the game must go on and stuff. It really rattled all of us, but especially Nomad, who has played the game and knows what it's like to see a fellow player, fellow athlete injured. It's heavy duty stuff, something that I've never really experienced in my playground playing days and in Sandlot playing days. Somebody to go through something as traumatic as that. I've seen people shot, but we weren't playing baseball or football, so that's a different thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other dangerous moments throughout the NFL history, other than maybe like the Darryl Stingley hit.
That was huge. That was huge. I mean, totally paralyzed from the neck down. And then, of course, the Chuck Hughes thing we talked about briefly earlier, the former Detroit Lions player, who I thought for years was killed by Dick Butkus, because the way I remembered it was Dick Butkus, a couple of plays later, really smashed the guy really bad. And then 2 plays later, the guy's running around and he just collapses. And I thought, I bet you it was the Dick Butkus hit. And I kept saying that for many, many years later. And so about 10 years ago, I wrote an article about it and did all the research and found out that Chuck Hughes had a heart ailment that he had been complaining about for weeks, but the Lions, took a cursory look at it and said, you're fine. It's just probably tired and what have you. And Chuck Hughes' wife ended up suing the NFL and the Detroit Lions for negligence, and she won a nice award on that. So you're right, Bellissimo and everyone else that says the NFL is compassionless, and they have to be forced by the players' union to take these safety precaution measures, and that's just the way it's always been. Not only NFL, but typically most worker corporation relationships are that way. You need collective bargaining in order to get people to do the right thing, unfortunately.
Yeah. You know, just to tie this all together with some of our past discussions, this is something that definitely the owners and the league will be discussing in the offseason without a doubt, you know, this incident. And then perhaps we'll, you know, make some positive changes, whether it's equipment or, you know, any other, I don't know what they could do rules wise, but perhaps, you know, maybe they will consider hiring and educating referees full time to deal with situations like this, where, you know, a referee knows, you know, we're going to do such and such a situation or whatever, you know, just, you know, and extra safeguards at stadiums. You know, I know they have ambulances waiting by and all this stuff, but a little more education all around, just to tie it all together.
Well, and I think, you know, taking this even further, it's what I worry about most is the high school football games and the college football games where they don't have that equipment. They don't have the what's it called, ACD, automatic.
The defibrillator.
Yeah, they don't have, a lot of these places don't. I went to a high school game when Phil Otoshin was in town. Jim Larison took us to a high school football game, and I did see an ambulance there, and it was good to see because during that game I saw a kid get hit in the head, and he's fucking throwing up on the sidelines. But the ambulance guys were just like, they weren't fucking paying attention to the game. So that's a whole issue. But you know, I worry about kids getting hit with a baseball in the chest, getting hit with a punch in the chest, and they don't have this equipment that the NFL teams have that potentially saved Damar Hamlin's life. That's the scary thing for me. Wouldn't want to see that happen. Yeah, and absolutely, Retro, you're right. Bellissimo's mom had mycardiofibrosis, and Bellissimo himself started CPR within 60 seconds, but she had already passed, and he knew it. That's a very sad story.
We had that with my daughter. It was 2. She's choking to death on the hot dog. We had to do CPR.
I remember that.
I was super worried about how much time she spent without oxygen, you know?
Yes.
But, fortunately, you know, that was the worst day of my life, I think. I would probably say it was that moment.
Goodness. Well, the best day of your life might be yesterday and today. You're 15 and 3?
Yeah. So it's great start to 2023. You know, finally feel like I'm getting on top of the college basketball, and then college football 4-0 yesterday. Really felt great about that, and took Penn State, you know, just watching the line movement, late line movement and stuff, and, you know, going with you know, my knowledge of the Penn State players and stuff. Thought they would, you know, beat Utah in the Rose Bowl, and then LSU had the team total over 35. They put up 63. Purdue had nobody left, no coaches, no defense. I was like, you know, I don't know if LSU will beat them by 16 points, but I kind of like them to score more than 35 on that defense.
Yes, it was so embarrassing. They brought in Drew Brees to be the assistant head coach. It's like, Jesus, they had no inspiration from having Drew Brees on the sidelines. It was awful. Oh my god!
And then I had the under in the Mississippi State -3, which I got lucky on that one with the last minute touchdown to push it to get the cover. So that was good, but.
Fun times. Are you on the air, the barroom air, Saturday with weekend sports betting tips, or are you guys off this weekend?
Yeah, we'll try and get back this weekend. I just have had a lot going on.
I bet you have. Yes.
Yeah. We'll try and get back. I talked to Sean and Anthony today and stuff. But,
Great guys. The weekend sports betting tips is Tooch's gambling show. It's on weekends, and the best way to stay on top of that is to subscribe to the Barroom Network's YouTube channel. You'll get alerts whenever we are live. Tooch, anything else you want to cover before we pull the plug on this one?
Let me see. I did have another thing. Right. So getting back to Bears talk, I'm struck by the fact that, and I said in Bears State of Affairs that there's been, against the Lions, it was never more apparent that the roster lacked, depth, lacked, top end talent, and injury attrition, especially on the offensive line was, I'm not surprised after reflecting on the game that the Lions blew us out because we didn't have the horses for this game, and 7 completions for Justin Fields. And I can see why people might be not or hopping off the Justin Fields bandwagon. But I mean, look, this, like we said before, this is his rookie season. I still believe in the kid. I mean, he still had a 60-yard run where he was the fastest player on the field. I just I'm not going to hop off yet, but I also came to sort of a thought that maybe we don't have the coaches to develop Justin Fields, whether offensively or head coach or whatever. That thought during the Lions game kind of crept into my head a little bit. And then I also mentioned we've got a ton of work to do as we do every offseason with holes to fill, and definitely a trade back. And I last show I said that holding the number 1 overall pick would be a lot better than holding the number 2 overall pick. Number 2 overall pick is great, but with the number 1 overall pick, the Bears can pretty much control the flow of the draft, with demanding whatever they're going to have, especially after those 2 quarterbacks, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud had just amazing days, in their bowl games, their respective bowl games.
That was good news for Bears fans. Absolutely.
That was great news. So even if we have the number 2 pick, somebody's going to trade up for one of those 2 guys, whichever guy's left over after the first pick, but yeah, I would say definitely the Bears should trade down, out of the pick, because I would rather have, a defense, a 3 technique like Brian Breezy or someone else, and extra picks than just Jalen Carter. That's just me. But, and then the Texas Tech edge rusher, Tyree Wilson, maybe, he's back there, we trade back and get him. But yeah, I'm with Barrelissimo. I want more picks, and I said, I got a little slam for the price of the Chase Claypool pick. I didn't think it was worth it. I mean, but I understand that we were bidding against Green Bay. That's the rumor. I don't know whether it's true or not. But
no, I believe it's true.
Yeah, we were bidding against Green Bay, and in my opinion, when you're in a situation like that, it's really a no-win situation. Because you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't. But for me, I think placing the value on the pick a little bit more, than on the player. But that's just me. Maybe Chase Claypool will have a great year next year. I don't know.
I hope so, and I think he's certainly capable of it. I'm glad to hear that he and Justin Fields are going to spend time together in the offseason working on their chemistry together. That's huge when a quarterback and receiver do that. We saw how it paid dividends with Darnell Mooney and Justin Fields. It started in Justin Fields' real rookie season last year where they would stay after practice and work out together and stuff. And so if Claypool can get into that inner circle, that would give the Bears a good 2 good wide receivers. I still think they need a number 1 true wide receiver. If they can find that somehow somewhere in this draft, because there really aren't a lot of options in free agency, if they can find a gem in the 2nd round that could develop into a number 1 wide receiver, that would give them a really potent wide receiver group. But the key is protecting this quarterback and giving him time to throw. And so they've got to spend the money and resources on bolstering the offensive and defensive line. You got to win the line of scrimmage, and that's probably the number 1 reason why this Bears team has had this 10-game losing streak is they lose the line of scrimmage.
Is it 10 or 9? I think it's 9. Isn't it 9?
Is it 9? I've lost
9.
track. It depresses me so much, man. It really does.
Yeah,
it's got me upset.
I mean,
what
would you be like upset if the Bears got the number 1 overall pick and were quote unquote the worst team in the NFL for 2022? Because to me, I wouldn't care. Give me that overall pick. Right?
They are the worst fucking team. Yeah, I think if the Texans and the Bears were to play Sunday, the Texans will probably win.
I think so too. Even though we beat them earlier in the season, we just don't. We are so injured, man.
Injured, and then you trade away Roquan Smith, and then his replacement Sanborn gets hurt. You're not going to be a better team. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So Bellissimo was asking about. Yeah, Bellissimo was asking about Jalen Carter versus Ohio State.
I got a couple of thoughts about that game. I tell you, Georgia's defense looked pretty beatable, which surprised me because they are supposedly, if not the best, one of the best defenses in college football. But I tell you, I think Ohio State would have won that game if Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't leave the game with during the whatever injury or knocked shaken up. But that'd be a number 1 receiver right there, man. If you could get Marvin Harrison Jr., we'd be pretty well off there. But
I don't think he's eligible. I don't think
he's a junior. I mean, he's not. He is going back for his senior year, I think. Yeah,
gotcha.
He's either a sophomore or junior.
Okay. Yeah. So Nomad saying that he's been snooping around the Colts media, and he can tell us that Kenny Moore could be certainly up for grabs. See, that's the thing, too, is what do you do if you're the GM? Are you going to trade draft picks for veteran players like you did with the Claypool thing? I mean, if you're going to trade more draft assets for veterans, you better fucking get a bigger return on investment than we're getting out of Claypool right now.
Yeah, to me, it's not ideal trading draft picks for veterans. That's the thing. That's why I was kind of upset. Not only that, but the second round pick is going to be like, it's almost like a first round pick that we gave up to Claypool. Yeah.
Well, yeah, right? But it doesn't belong to us, right? Yeah.
Right. It doesn't, not anymore. Right.
Right.
Yeah. It's the Steelers are going to have a nice high, top of the second round pick, if not the very
36th, 37th, probably. Yeah. Not even, probably 33. It could be 33.
Yeah, it could be 33 or 34. So, my God. Which, that's a premium player.
Mm-hmm.
You could get a nice offensive tackle for that. It's like, or a nice wide receiver. I
gotta hit, man. You gotta bring in some players.
It's like that. Someone said in the chat room. By the way, chat room has been awesome tonight, man.
Yeah,
just fire today. Someone said Amari Cooper was traded for a 5th round pick. I don't know whether that's true or not, but that's the kind of deal I would rather we made.
Yes, yeah, I think that was for a 5th round pick. I think that is accurate. I think Cooper was. Yeah. We need to find those bargain basement players, but also we need some legit superstars, some real blue chip players, and that's what I'm afraid of.
This game, the questions, aside from getting blown out, which was not something we were expecting or hoped for the new year, but the questions arise. This game, the question arises: do we have the quarterback? Do we have the coaches? Do we have the GM to build a roster? All these questions came up, man, because it was the wheels came off last Sunday. Although,
I'm with you, man. Yeah. I'm with you. It's so many needs, and you have to question Ryan Poles as whether he can get it done. Now, I like his first 2 draft picks with the Bears, Brisker and Kyler Gordon. Would I have chosen those 2 guys if I was myself? Maybe not. I don't know. But the Bayless Jones pick looks a lot better now than it did, the first 3 quarters of the season. But was it really worthy of a 3rd round? I don't think so. And so Braxton Jones is a nice pickup in the 5th round, but is he really a starter? So there's a lot of question marks with Ryan Poles. His big free agent acquisition didn't work out, Larry Ogunjobi. So it's not like this guy has a track record of hitting on things. And so that's what scares me. We're going to go into the offseason, and he's got to have a better performance this offseason than he did in the previous offseasons.
Lucas Patrick, that kind of didn't work out. I know he was injured and stuff, but, You know, I don't know. It was I'm willing to give polls a little more time, but I'm kind of on the Jordan Silvera side where I'm not kind of trending down for me with polls, but we'll see. You know, his picks don't look that great. I mean, Brisker and Gordon, they're okay. They might be decent players. But yeah, I don't know. We needed so much. It's hard to say either way. Every year, Aldo, as Bears fans, I know there's like more holes to fill than picks or players available for the Bears.
Yeah, indeed. Bellissimo says, how many players did the Bears sign on day one of official free agency? I hope.
Better be a lot.
Yeah, I hope that 48 hours before the official open of free agency, I hope that there's news leaking out that the Chicago Bears are signing Daron Payne.
Yeah.
And that's going to take care of the 3 tech. And so we don't have to worry about a high draft investment on the 3 tech. You'll want another defensive tackle in the draft, but we can consider that on day 2 or day 3. So that's the one player right now that I'm targeting most in free agency is that 3 tech. And
this is really a great question because I think after last offseason, Poles had the reputation of being like waiting for the second or third tier of guys free agents.
Yes.
Do I have that right or wrong? I think
he wanted bargain basement guys.
Right, he wanted bargain basement guys. So this is like a prescient question because this coming off season, he better fucking get some blue chip players, man. Or we're in trouble again next year. It'll be a long season next year. Yeah.
That's the key. We need superstars. You can't win in the NFL.
Draymond Jones would be good too, man.
Yeah, he would be. Bellissimo's right. Daron Payne, Dexter Lawrence would be clutch.
Daron Payne would be awesome.
Yes, indeed. So a lot of work to do in the offseason. I'm excited by it. This is, as a fan, building the roster is for me personally is almost as much fun as watching the games. And given the caliber of play that we've had this season, it should be a lot more fun than watching the games. So it's going to be fun to see the moves. It's going to be fun to read about the rumors. It's going to be fun to speculate on what the Bears should do. We're going to do all that and a lot more here on the Barroom Network. Dudes, do you gamble on draft picks and like who might go in what round? Is that something that you would do?
I wanted to, but Iowa doesn't allow it. So some state law or something like gambling on college players, not non-professional athletes. So some states have laws like that, where you can't gamble, and some other states have, like Connecticut, I think, is one of them, where you can't gamble on Connecticut's teams, like University of Connecticut or whatever. Or I think New Jersey is the same way. You can't gamble on like Rutgers or some of the other Jersey schools. I agree, Bellissimo. He's got to be excited, and the thing is like they're not going to sit Justin Fields because he's so close to that record. I
don't think that means anything. I really don't.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to play him just for him to get that record. I don't think that's what this coaching staff is about. But maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. There is a chance that he might not play.
64 yards.
Yeah. I mean, he can do that on the first play of the game. So he's done it before.
Yeah, he had 105 yards before the first quarter was over. So he had 105 yards rushing. He had 160 yard, like I said, 160-yard run where he's the fastest player on the field.
Right.
But
the thing about Sunday is if you don't play Fields and you play Peterman and the Vikings are playing to win because it will impact their seeding, they need to win the game. So how bad is that game going to be for the Bears? I mean, we could lose 50-0. I mean, it could be that bad with Peterman in there. It would be atrocious.
The Vikings defense really isn't that good.
Neither is Peterman though.
Fair enough. But do I think? I mean, the Vikings offense has got some real players, man. Justerson, probably the best wide receiver in the NFL. A guy that Bellissimo was all over, man. It's like he was. It was his favorite receiver coming out of that draft. He's like, he messaged me, said, "You need to take a look at this kid."
Mhm.
Justin Jefferson, fantastic player. And then Dalvin Cook always had some big games against the Bears in the past as well. Now they got TJ Hawkinson too. So I mean, Adam Thielen always is a pain in the ass too for the Bears. So
Yep. They're loaded offensively. There's no doubt about it, and they've improved their pass blocking. And their new head coach knows what the fuck he's doing. The defense has struggled, and that's going to be their Achilles heel once they get into the playoffs. But that defense will not have a big problem, a big challenge against the Bears on Sunday. As much as I regret saying that. And Bellissimo was right about the Bears coaching staff, but it's not the Senior Bowl that the Bears coaching staff will be at. It will be the East-West Shrine Bowl game. I believe what they're doing now is that they're going to alternate. 1 year, the Shrine Bowl will get two NFL coaching staffs to coach the All-Stars, and then the next year they go to the Senior Bowl, and then on those off years, they will put together a coaching staff based on coaches from lots of different teams. So that's the way they're going to do it. By the way, Tooch, a word from our sponsor. Oh, you blocked
the porn, yeah. Girls for XYZ is trying to get us some free advertising on Barroom. Yeah.
Okay, this is Bellissimo says that. I'm sorry.
The Bears coaches will be in Vegas when you're there.
Yes, that's the plan. If they end up with the first or second worst record in the league, they're the coaching staff that'll be.
Keyshawn Booty, another LSU receiver, had some injury issues this year, but a real player.
Look at this. Amy and Bethany McDonald. A and B McDonald say Hub Arkish was on the score today. He says the Bears need to take a serious look at quarterback in the first round of the upcoming draft. Fields is a gadget guy. What do you think about that, Mr. Santucci?
I think we'd be setting the franchise back a little bit if we're to take one of those guys. Man, if you're grabbing a guy like Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, it's really almost the same thing as Justin Fields. Fields is a better runner. I just have to. It sucks that we kind of are wondering, and I think Fields will figure it out. Because like Nomad said, man, every team's looking for the next Justin Fields. So I think in this one, the smarter play would be to get. What you do is you get the draft picks for the top few quarterbacks, then you come back and take a chance on a later round quarterback, maybe Max Duggan, a guy like Max Duggan on TCU, who just seems to make play after play after play. I don't know what year Max Duggan is. I know he's another Iowa quarterback, but I don't know what grade he's in. I don't know if he's entering the draft or what, but had a pretty good game against Harbaugh, right?
Yep, he sure did. So what if this is the deal, Tooch? What if the Seattle Seahawks call and say, listen, we've got the number 3 overall pick. We'll send that to you. We've got the number 19 overall pick. We'll send that to you. So that's 2 first-round draft picks from this year. And we'll send you a first-round draft pick from the 2024 draft
for Fields.
Exchange for Justin Fields. Do you pull the trigger?
Man, that's
he's sweating.
That's a very interesting thing. Very interesting trade proposition. I don't know. I would think about it though. I would definitely think about it, man. Because I mean, you use one of those top picks, you're gonna get either Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, or Will Levis.
Yep. You're gonna get a promising young quarterback. Maybe Cliff says no. Keep Fields. A and B McDonald says done deal. Triple exclamation point. Well, that's not triple. That's 20 exclamation points for A and B. Yeah. It would be an interesting proposal. I doubt any team will want to do that. But if there isn't a team that would offer up 3 number 1 draft picks for Justin Fields, then maybe we do have the wrong quarterback for this team. If he's going to be as good as we all hope he will be, we should be getting trade offers for him. Don't you think?
Well, I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you. And that brings up the point I made in Bears State of Affairs is that I'm not sure we have the I'm not sure we have the coaches to develop quarterbacks. I don't think we ever have had any coaches in the history of the Bears staff that are like Andy Reid, developing a quarterback. Someone who understands how to get the best out of the quarterback position. Whether it's what's his name, Sean McVay or Andy Reid or Zach Taylor. Those guys who understand. Look at what what's his name, Sean McVay did with Baker Mayfield. It's like they're on the scrap heap. He goes and is able to get. Sean McVay is able to get something out of the quarterback. Just I don't know if we have the offensive minds that know how to to work with this kid. But
this guy did a pretty good job of developing quarterbacks. This guy here,
Mr. Shorty.
Yeah, Mr. Shorty got a good year out of Cutler and his back account.
Yeah, but Bayless makes a great point though. He's going into year 3 of his contract.
Yeah,
you'll be getting a guy in his first year of his contract because like Dan always says, we wasted Justin Fields' first year with fucking Nagy.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, Nagy should have been gone a long time ago. He was fired 1 or 2 years too late. The damage was already done.
Yep.
We got Fields, and he didn't want to play Fields.
Right. If you're convinced that you don't have the right coach, whether it's the head coach, coordinators, or whatever, pull the fucking trigger now. Don't fucking wait and say, it's only 1 year and stuff. No, pull the trigger now.
They're not going to do that because, it's Eberflus's first year. They'll give him another year, which maybe he should get another year. I don't know. I wanted Nagy gone after 2 years. After 1 year, we're like, oh, wow, club dub, man. Look at that. We got 12 wins or whatever he was, 12-4, But, it's we're in that situation where maybe it's both, maybe it's one or the other. Fields has got to figure out the passing game, whether it's the quick passing game, so he can't, he doesn't not getting rid of the ball. We're not calling slants because he can't handle the quick pass play, can't find the laces, whatever it is, or we don't have the coaches. We always end up hiring defensive coaches. We always end up hiring defensive coordinators as coaches. And I'm not so sure that the modern NFL, the way the rules are and the way it's a passing league now, and it's geared toward that, we should be hiring defensive coaches anymore. We should be focused on offensive minds. Maybe I know it didn't work out with Nagy, but we just picked the wrong guy.
Mm-hmm. Very true. By the way, A and B asked the question, have we ever seen a Justin Fields passing highlight? Come on, A and B. Have you been watching the games? Have you been
plenty
watching
of passing highlights this year? Yeah. He throws some nice balls this year. I mean, come on.
I know
he can make all the throws,
Right. I know you don't like him, but the guy has one of the best arms in the NFL. Here's a little taste. You probably missed this one, A and B. Look at this. Play action pass, steps up in the pocket, perfect protection, throws it right there for Mooney, makes a nice adjustment to the ball. That's the type of stuff that he has done. You should appreciate it.
He's thrown some nice sideline outs too, man. Yeah, like Nomad says, man. It takes time. He's running a West Coast offense, which is, by reputation, the hardest offense to learn in the NFL.
Very, very true. Very, very true.
Excuse me.
I'm still a fan of Luke Getsy. I'm not going to sit here and think that he has been infallible. I've yelled at the screen and tweeted out, does Getsy really want to win? Because of the conservative nature of some of the play calls. That one game, what was it, 2 games ago, and he Fields it was a windy day, but he hits Valen Jones with a 44-yard pass. It was the only long pass they threw all day, and and they were kept running when they were behind. So Getsy's made some mistakes, but I man, even Greg Gabriel, who is very, very reluctant to criticize the Bears coaching staff. Even he said, I got to admit it, maybe I shouldn't say it publicly, but I wonder if the coaching staff is playing to lose. Greg Gabriel said this. And so I'm glad that he did, because I've been saying it now for the last 2-3 weeks. There are ways to tank without officially tanking. It's like, let's get a very conservative offensive play, a game plan going. Let's not, show all of our weapons. We'll show that next year. I think that's what's been happening.
Let's play some guys who maybe shouldn't be playing. I mean, we know this stuff goes on in the NFL because of the Dolphins story that broke. Hey, 100,000 for whatever it was with Brian Flores and Mark Ross. Is that his name? Stephen Ross.
Stephen Ross, I think. Yeah.
Whatever the owner of the Dolphins' name is. We know the stuff goes on. I know it's a conspiracy theory. We can't really, but yeah, sure. There's some things that make you scratch your head a little bit. Yeah. Yes.
It happens, and God bless him. I think if Ryan Poles has told the team, take your foot off, told the coaching staff, take your foot off the accelerator, maybe he isn't totally wrong, because he knows. I think what a lot of us know, this team is so depleted of talent, and the fastest way is to get like a Herschel Walker trade, or one of those trades where you get multiple draft picks for multiple years, and that's the way you turn shit around. Bellissimo had a thought about Getsy. He says he needs to empower Fields to make audible calls. It's the only development left to make with Fields that he could have without an improved roster. I don't know about that. There's other things. We were talking about earlier, Bellissimo, about him getting rid of the ball earlier. I would love to spend the time of looking at every one of the sacks Justin Fields has had. He's at 55, so it would take me a lot of time. But I bet you maybe half of those sacks were his fault because he held on to the ball too long. And it's been a constant refrain by the coaching staff. In the midweek coaching staff, though, they say that's one of Justin Fields' things that he needs to correct. And Justin himself said it after last week's game. He holds on to the ball too long. And I think it's unfair a bit to the offensive line. So that's one of the things he's got to improve. And I'd love for him to play Sunday against the Vikings, and for me to walk away from that game and say, I am so proud of the way Justin Fields got rid of the ball so quickly, even if he had to throw it into the dirt on key plays. That's what he needs to improve right now. He can do that immediately.
And there's a lot of intangible things, man. First of all, the kid's a tremendous athlete. I said, when he steps on the field, he's one of the fastest players on the field. Mm-hmm. That's something you just can't coach. It's just natural ability. And then he does have a good arm, and the kid's got a great character, great personality, and he wants to win. By all accounts, he wants to win, and he's a hard worker. And that's more than half the battle with quarterbacks. You gotta at least give him a chance. But we're going into his third year of his contract. So next year, I don't know. I'll tell you one thing though. If the Bears stay put at number 1 and draft CJ Stroud, Justin Fields could be on another team next year.
Fucking A. I mean, there's no way that you draft Stroud unless you make a draft day trade for Fields. I mean, you don't want to come into the season with both of those guys. Right. No, that would not be smart, and would just slow the rebuilding process. Yep. And I get what Bellissimo is saying. Austin Carter Samuels has said that it's impossible to make good decisions consistently in chaos and stress. Yep. He's a human, not a robot. It's literally impossible to divorce yourself from that. And that I totally get it, and I agree with you, Bellissimo. But I have seen it way too often, where it is. He's sometimes Fields has that Jay Cutler mentality of, I want to make a big play. I'm going to look downfield. It's 31-10, so I want to throw it downfield as opposed to hitting the open guy who's 4 yards away. And so what happens? It's now 2nd down and 17 as opposed to 2nd down and 6. And that's, so I don't know. I can be proven wrong on this. And Nomad says, Tuccini, you goofy. He loves you.
I'm just saying, it's the 3rd year of his contract. Maybe the Bears want to start over with a quarterback. I don't know. I'm a huge Justin Fields fan, man. I love the kid. But,
me too.
It's a different NFL than when we were kids, Aldo, man.
Absolutely.
It's more business, and it's more a contract, how many years on the contract focus, how much money, is invested in certain positions, how much money, dead cap space if you release this guy or change this guy out, whatever. It's totally different now.
Indeed. Renewable wants to know what kind of a package Pause. What did it take for you to trade Justin Fields?
Man, goddamn, I'd have to think. You need 2 first-round picks this year, and maybe a first-round pick next year, a second-round pick next year. I don't know. My inclination would be to keep Justin Fields because I think every team, like Nomad said, every team's looking for the next Justin Fields. And you know, we haven't seen what he can do with a good offensive line and a good wide receiver that he can depend on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but at least, Mo, you're right again. You know, he needs wide receivers in order to throw it up and put it up. But you know what? We saw in the game that Nathan Peterman played, what did he do? Almost immediately, he threw a deep ball to Chase Claypool. And what happened in the press conference in the middle of the week when Justin Fields was asked, did you learn anything from watching Nathan Peterman play? He goes, yeah, one of the things I learned is that you got to throw it up there and let your players make plays. He said it himself. He said it himself this past week. I'm holding on to the ball too long, and I can't do that to the offensive line. Yeah, the guys are getting in there a little quickly, but I got to do a better job. So he's admitting his own faults. And so I understand that the weapons aren't there, but Fields is also accountable for this. He's been a part of the problem, and I'm willing to let him slide because of the talent level he's got, because of the potential that he's got. And I love the guy. He's going to be great, but it's getting frustrating. We need to see some more signs. So
yeah, like I said, this is it. This is this is the cliff. We're on the edge, not Cliff Victoria. We're on the edge of the cliff. You know, like Bayless was right though, man. If he had Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, you know, he'd be getting rid of the ball a lot faster. You know, he doesn't have an offensive line. He doesn't have any receivers. Darnell Mooney's been out for how long? Who's he throwing to? Byron Pringle.
Yeah,
you know,
yes,
Pringle,
exactly.
Byron Pringle and Pettis. You know, he's got nobody. N'Keal Harry and Chase Claypool have been injured for most of the season. You know? He doesn't have anybody to throw to, man. You know.
Yeah, well, and A and B says no good wide receivers signing here. You know what? I got to disagree because I hear what these NFL players are saying about Justin Fields. They're fucking sucking his dick. This guy is great and so forth. And they're seeing what we're seeing, that he still has lapses in his game. But I think Justin Fields can attract free agents. I don't think he's going to repel free agent wide receivers. I really don't. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Fans lack patience. What's new? You got that right, Nomad. At fucking my age, I got no patience.
The wise Nomad.
He is wise, which is one of the many reasons he will be a part of this show starting next Tuesday. He and Mr. Shorty will join John Santucci, Dan Aguirre, and myself in a newly titled show. So I better get to work on graphics and all that stuff. It'll be a blast next Tuesday. Join us here at 8 o'clock. And then Dan and I will do our final show Saturday night right here from the Man Cave.
Can the chat room name the starters or who played on the offensive line last week? Because I don't think I can. I'm just saying. I don't think I can, man. There's no Tevin Jenkins, right? You had Braxton Jones, who's I think has started every game. And then, man, I don't even – who was playing center? Was it Mustafa?
It was Sam Mustafa. That's one thing about Sam Mustafa. He is an Iron Man. You know? A lot of people say that's good and bad. You know, I wish we would miss some games.
You can always count on Mustafa being there to fill in subpar. You know
what would be interesting is to see Dieter Iceland play center Sunday against the Vikings. I mean, like you said, the Vikings defense is not that great. Throw Dieter in there. You know, I'm not sure you want him in there when Fields is in there. But he did play fairly well at guard 2 weeks ago when he was in there for a dozen snaps. So maybe it's time to take a look at Dieter and see how he fits in.
I'm a little worried that like the Bears, this is about one of my fears is that like next weekend the Bears are trying to get Justin Fields the NFL rushing record, and they like run all these plays, you know, and then Fields goes out and stuff, try that's all they do is like call Fields running plays, that hopefully the Vikings don't tee off on that, and then they take him out for Peterman, after he gets the record, but with this offensive line, I don't think that's a good idea. Barrelissimo's got the lineup.
Braxton Jones, Cody Whitehair on the left, S'mores Mustafer at the center, Tevin Jenkins, who only lasted a couple of series, Mike Schofield and Dieter Iceland at right guard.
That was who was playing last week, right?
Yep.
Is Whitehair back? I thought Whitehair was injured.
No, he started Sunday.
Did he? Okay. So Whitehair. Yeah, I mean, is there any one of these guys that could start on any other team? I don't think so.
A healthy Tevin Jenkins,
yeah, maybe Tevin. That's it.
But this guy has missed a lot of games due to injury. I'm not sure we should be counting on him. What do you think?
Yeah.
Tevin Jenkins.
I like Tevin Jenkins. I think he could be a good piece on the offensive line.
But I'm talking about his injury history. He's missed approximately 50% of the games he could have played in. He's missed because of injury. Doesn't that worry you?
A little bit, not too much though. I think hopefully the injuries are behind him. He's a player, man. He's a stud, man.
He's a stud, but I don't think he's going to play Sunday.
Guards. You can find guards everywhere, anywher though. Aldo, you know, if we find a better one, you know.
I'm not a proponent of. I'm not a proponent of that. You can find guards anywhere, but it usually takes them time to develop, and you need cohesion and so forth. It's not easy to find a good guard, and you need excellent guards now because so much of the pressure on quarterbacks is coming up the middle.
Comes up the middle. But, well, exactly. I'm saying if we can find one better than Tevin, then yeah.
Right. And I don't know. I love Tevin Jenkins. I mean, when he's out there, you got that mentality that you want in an offensive lineman. He's a brute. But, man, he's getting hurt a lot. Bellissimo says he goes out relatively easy, Jenkins. But if I had a stinger, it was way too quick to come back for a lineman. You're absolutely right. That was part of the problem. He wanted to get out there. He's not afraid, which is good. But, you know, to get entered again the same way so quickly, it does tell you that he probably came back too quickly.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we haven't had a line all season, Foster.
No line at all. Everybody needs to hit the weight room, Cliff. Everybody, starting with Braxton Jones, do those squats, get those fucking butt muscles ready for action next season.
I think I might have said this earlier in the season that Braxton Jones, you know, with a year in the NFL weight program, might be something we're looking at. You know, saying, man, I'm glad we got this guy, but you know, like this year he better be, you know, focusing on strength, you know, bulking up a little bit. Yeah, but the offensive line is the worst, the biggest issue, in my opinion.
The defensive line is just as bad. In fact, I would argue the defensive line is a bigger issue than the offensive line. It's just simply because you've got not one single player who is a legitimate pass rusher. Not one. You could look at this offensive line and say, okay, Cody Whitehair has played 6 years or 7-8 years in this league for a reason. He's okay. Braxton Jones has a lot of promise. Tevin Jenkins has a lot of promise. Is there any promise at all in this defensive line? No. Travis Gibson was supposed to be our promise, and he's been overwhelmingly disappointing.
It's Dominique Robinson. I don't know. He hasn't played enough for me to know, but Justin Jones, is that his name? Justin Johnson? What's his name?
Justin Jones.
Justin Jones. He's been okay, but he's not he's good. He's a rotational, situational player.
Exactly.
You know,
and gives you the versatility.
We got nobody after that. We got nobody.
You're right.
You know, the roster is like one of the worst rosters in the NFL. People are like, oh, Fields is terrible. He's 4-21, his record. Look at that. You know, it's like, come on, man. The defense can't stop anybody. The offensive line can't keep pressure off of Fields. You know, it's like we don't have anybody for Fields to throw to. Who, you know, Troy Aikman and Tom Brady would be 4-21. You know. Yeah.
You're right. All right, Tuch, it is time for you to go to bed, for me to go to bed, and for you to start planning some more winners this week. Tell us where we can get your winners. How do we do that?
Yeah, at John Santucci VIP on Twitter. Sat up there, I picked up another client today after 8-0 day yesterday. You know, I post my record every day, whether it's crap. There was like a time about a week ago where I had like 3 losing days in a row, and I didn't want to post my record.
Yeah,
you know, it's just embarrassing. I think I was 3-7 one day, 2-8 another day. You know, but I past 2 days have been pretty good. So.
Bellissimo points out that Justin Jones has more quarterback hits, pressures, tackles, and knockdowns than Ogunjobi this year. And I think that was a great consolation. Yeah, it's a great consolation prize given that Ogunjobi didn't work out with the injury situation.
Do we know, is he here next year too, Justin Jones? I think he is, right?
I think it was just 1 year contract, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
I mean, good for the Bears. They got a deal out of that guy. Bad for Justin Jones because I think he certainly, played well enough to have at least a 2-year contract. With the team.
Yeah. Well, we'll cover all that and more on the new edition of this show. It's yet to be titled, but we will be here Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central. And then tomorrow on Wednesday, it is Bar Down Hockey Talk at 2 p.m. Hope you join the guys live and just interact with them.
My guy, Vinny Parisi.
Yeah, they've been talking a lot of football lately, too. So you can expect them to talk about that. They do the show in 3 periods. So the first period is hockey. Second period is hockey and a little pop culture. And the third period, whatever is hot news. So it's a great show. And then tomorrow night, it will be Buffon 55. We are not going to preview the Vikings-Bears game as typically Buffon 55 does, because nobody really cares about that game. We're just going to talk about Bears for the full hour and a half of Buffon 55.
Are you on that show too?
I pop in for the last 20 minutes. Yeah, I hate to go on so many of these shows because people just get bored of looking at my fucking ugly face.
Alyssa Barbieri and
she's the best, and John
Buffon do a great job.
Yeah, they really, really do. So hopefully you'll join us for that. And we got a lot more programming the rest of the week and into the weekend. Just, again, follow us on the YouTube channel, Barroom Network, and give us a follow on the Twitter machine at Barroom Network. And make sure you follow Johnny Santucci. That's John, SANTUCCIVIP, at John Santucci VIP. You can make some money by following the guy. And don't forget to follow Dan Aguirre on the Twitter machine. He's at BearsFan_Dan. We've got to get his Twitter followership up. He's in the hundreds. He needs to be in the tens of thousands. Bellissimo, good night to you. Thanks for popping in. Bellissimo just wakes up, turns on the computer, and finds us.
It's like 5 in the morning there or something. 5:30 in the morning.
That's what time I usually go to sleep. So he's waking up at 5 in the morning. And I get to see my boy Dan Aguirre on Saturday, picking him up at 7 a.m. over at Terminal 1, 2, 3. You guess. I don't know where he'll be, but that'll be fun. And Tooch will be in touch. Actually, we're having a meeting on Saturday, so I'm going to reach out to you and let you know the time so we can discuss the new.
Yep. Saturday is a good day for me.
Outstanding. Goodbye, everybody. Take care. Where's my music? Where's my video? It's going to be the last time we play this. No, next to last time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Dan and Aldo Bare Their Souls. Make sure you subscribe to the Barroom Network and you give us a rating on iTunes. Until next week, my name is Nomche. Bear down.